And here we are, game number 1 on Arabia. And immediately, as soon as I get the teams named, we have Laming on the side. Tim coming forward with a scout and a villager, trying to get into the sheep here of Velesa. Velesa, who is in the blue on the flank, as the Mayans will be luring in his forward boar nice and early. Still has to worry about all of the sheep that Tim will be trying to take, and also about this villager who's coming forward. Now, China going for Goths and Burmese on the flank, and actually Tim on the flank instead of Lix. Lix is going to be his Burmese pocket. And, well, what a set of civs this will be. As, Tim loses the scout to the TC. And what just happened there? How did Tim pull that off? He sees the house and the straggler, and that's just not paying attention from Tim. He goes right into that TC and he loses the scout. So he still has Licks to do some laming. And we'll have a villager killing the sheep far from the TC. And getting into a Vil fight, but Vil fight when Velesa can't run too far because Lick still has a scout in the vicinity. And he's going to try to take the hill. So not much laming done from Tim. Putting Velesa maybe a bit behind, but he'll go and take that board, no problem. And on the other side, looks like things are going okay. Oh, but we have a bit of laming from Rubenstock. This is what we want to see. Rubenstock going forward with that eagle, taking that pair of sheep. And he'll be bringing his boar rather late, so more of a classic timing, not the modern take the boar as soon as you find it strategy. Although we will probably be seeing that from the pockets. We see the max already with one boar finished. And wait, what is this? What are these colors? The max is green and Valas is cyan. What is this? The last time... the only loss that Finland has to a non-Canada team was when they did these colors. The Vil here will go down for Tim, so he loses his forward Vil. So Scout and Vil down for Tim in what is a fairly ugly start for China. And the boar going to be hitting the villager, and wonderfully positioned boar here for the max, but at the same time he's losing his deer push. This is just an A+ location, not too close to the center, not too close to the edge where the Vils have to walk. That's exactly where you want it, and it's not going to block anything else he wants to put under his TC in the front. Now, as the Burgundians, we see he already has his double bit axe upgrade. And what you never have to underestimate is the power of the Slavs team bonus on Arabia for Valas here is that every time you build a military building, it counts as a house, so you get that 5 pop space. And if you're a flank and you're going for a barracks in 2 ranges, that's 75 wood you save really early on. So it's everyone on the team, both of your flanks saving an early 75 wood, and then both of the pockets on the barracks and stable saving 50 wood. And if you're trying to do one of the more modern, very fast uptimes on the flank, saving all that wood early on is a huge bonus. We'll have Tim already walling up. Yeah, it looks like even though his laming might not have been successful, Lix is getting away with the sheep. And he'll have 2 of his own sheep that he needs to find. Let's see if this Vil is a scout or... Oh, it actually is a scout. Okay, it's not just another forward lamer. Putting a house in will probably try to wall, so he will eventually get his sheep. But I have to worry about Tim being a bit farther behind, as it feels like Velesa really hasn't been affected too much by this laming. He's pushing in his deer nice and easily, and he is the Mayans, so this boar that he did manage to lure in will be lasting longer, and he should be able to click up without much problem. He did go for a mill though, so not going to be the super fast up that we've seen from a lot of players, but 21 pop up from the Mayans, and we'll check what is his idle time. Only 3 seconds of idle time, so this is... Remember, he has the extra Vil, so this is like 20 pop for everyone else. This is just a wonderfully managed Dark Age here for Velesa, and he should have no problems going for immediate barracks in 2 ranges. Rubenstock going very close to the TC with his barracks. He has a back gold and should be able to wall up the front of his base rather nicely. For the back, he could try to go to that forest or back towards the edge of the map, or could just do a bit more of a circle. Has a couple of options there. We'll have a side gold for Vivi. He has a pretty clear wall for that wood line. Valis and Yo will be hitting feudal at just about the same time. Yo will be playing the Franks. So on this side of the map, where we have a standard game of Arabia, it'll be Slavs versus Franks, where Slavs maybe not quite as good as the Franks, other than helping out their flanks early on with that eco bonus, up until you get to that late game position where the Franks have the easier transition into Paladins, but if it goes to a really late game after trade gets established, maybe the Boyar ends up being the better unit in the long run, but it's kind of a asymmetry where you have to make that switch. So Tim actually went for a Drush, going for 3 militia on the flank. When's the last time we see that? Well, that's what you get as the Goths. And you do have to take into account that late game, this will be Goths versus Mayans. If you end up getting Huskarls versus the Mayans, well, usually not as good in the team game as it is in the 1v1, but still could be an advantage for the Goths. And this is a pretty nice Drush getting in on the Eagle Warrior, forcing the deletion of the mill. So maybe the initial laming wasn't that good for Tim, but Eagle down to a mere 1 HP. The follow-up has been pretty successful for him. And down goes the militia there. As Max with the Burgundians adding in the stable will be... What are his eco upgrades? He has Horse Collar and Bowsaw. So Max going for almost all the eco upgrades, opting for Bowsaw over Heavy Plow. Sometimes you can be really greedy and try to sneak both of them in, but then you're not going to make enough scouts. Wait, Tim on the flank, yes. That's the surprise to me. Tim on the flank, and Lix as the pocket. Lix will be going for the fast castle, and he will want to be making a castle for Arambai. Now, both China A and earlier in the tournament China B have used this strategy, and it has actually worked. I haven't won every game with it, but it has been successful enough that if you need to get creative with how you're using the civs in the civ draft, this is a seemingly viable option for using Goths and Burmese. Any tips how to downgrade to the previous CA version? What are you trying to watch? If you're trying to watch Nations Cup, there should be a list on the Nations Cup Discord. You can ping the admins there, and they should get you hooked up. If it's for KOTD, I think you just have to ping one of the Capture Age people. And they'll send you the previous version. Yeah, there's 2 different versions for various patches now. Yeah, the NC. Yeah, that should be on the NC Discord. If you don't have the caster role, ping someone, and they'll hopefully give it to you. Hopefully they are around right now. So here is where Lix will be stonewalling and trying to defend against this pressure. It'll be 2v1'd now, and looks like they are trying to hit Lix. Now, they could try to hit Tim, but Tim kind of doesn't matter. They know he's behind. The key is to slow down the Arambai player, but Lix now has access to stone walls, and he also has access to towers, as he's going to try to wall up behind this with a lot of houses. I've used it. Yeah, and usually this is Lix as the flank and Yo as the Burmese. Instead, they're going Vivi, Yo as the other side. And Rubenstock trying to wall up. Looks like Yo has a lot of scouts, but is going to be fighting with a notable absence of Vivi here. Remember, Vivi is the Britons, and this is the old patch, so the Britons will be having their team bonus apply for the faster working ranges. Perhaps it is a bit of a waste of the Britons' team bonus if your other flank is just going to be the Goths and go for this strategy. Lix will be walled up as well as he can be, using some stone walls as well as the houses, and just doing everything he can to keep this double team out of his base. They'll have a bit of a team wall up here for Finland, as Valis and the Max will wall together, and Valis will be just going to the side to finish that off, and we will, of course, have to be very careful not to call the Cyan player the Max when Finland has changed their colors. So now Archer is getting in on the hill, looking to take down the gate. And Palisade Gate's always the weak spots in the walls, but we should have more archers here for Vivi, as his reinforcements will be closer and his ranges will work faster. Could be a bit of a struggle here if the Frank's player can't get up in time because they will lack bloodlines, but for now, still no bloodlines for Valis. So if China were to dive and just take this fight, they might actually win it. Even though it is armor versus no armor. I mean, Yo with anyone can be really dangerous. Usually I think, though, China would go Lix as the flank with Yo as his pocket, then Vivi as the flank with Tim as his pocket. So, an unorthodox team setup for an unorthodox strategy, but Finland being just as unorthodox with their color choices, so throwing some change-ups, not just going with the fastballs here. Now, on the other side, Lix continuing to wall. Maybe the Max could find an opening here. This is very far away from the rest of from any villagers that could wall it up. But now the stable is there. We'll see the capture age bug where the elephant animation doesn't finish, most noticeable on this stable. But the scouts are going to get in. And is Lix just going to react with a Rambai there? If he goes back to clean the scouts, then he won't be able to go forward with them. And Max is in now with 4 scouts, kind of low HP. Bloodline's on the way. Lix is just going to turn and run. And he will use the Arambai to clean this. But we'll lose at least 1 Vil in the process. But the scouts are going down, losing a 2nd Vil. And he will once more wall this up as only 1 scout gets away. On the other side, it does look like Valessa isn't fully walled in the back and doesn't even have a hole in his wall in the front. And we'll just be dealing with a bit of an attack from Tim. Tim finding something of an opening since Valessa didn't commit fully to the walls. And, well, Tim, he is up to the castle age. Not going to be as fast as Valessa, though. And Valessa, having already gone up to castle, has more Vils than Tim still, who has a bit of idle TC time. Valessa just well played after all that laming, not much idle time for him. And I'll leave the resource panel up. So we'll have an immediate 1, 2, 3 TCs here, as Heavy Plow is in for the Max, our Burgundian player. Have to keep an eye on whether he does any of those Imperial Age upgrades, but he will be pumping out Knights from 1 stable while booming, it looks like. And, well, Burgundians, they must be making Cavaliers. And, oh wait, not from 1 stable. He's got a forward stable in the green color blending in with the grass. Maybe this is why he picked green. He wanted to be sneaky and hope that his stable is less noticeable on the mini-map if you're not using team colors. And Valessa now getting in on Tim on the flank, going to hide underneath that tower there. And these Vils have nowhere to run. That tower is fully garrisoned. But here come the Arambai, and they have the crossbows pinned under the tower, as the tower will get some hits while the Arambai come in, and Valessa's going to lose his whole army here. The Arambai and their mobility picking off all of these crossbows. Usually the crossbows are the unit you want for countering the Arambai, but the Wolf's going to get involved too. And now the Arambai can get on the hill and turn around and hit the Knights too, as all of Valessa's units go down. And Lix, who could be surrounded now by the Max. More wolves chasing from all angles. And Max with the Burgundians starting to take the lead in the score. On the other side, you have to think that Britons and Franks eventually have a Civ bonus against pretty much any combination of Civs they'd face. All still the Slavs as the pocket. Yeah, just overall some unorthodox stuff going on from these players. As now we have Vivi breaking it as the Britons. And remember, he does have that extra range, but won't have the option for Thumb Ring. And we'll have to see how quickly Ballistics gets added in. I now have to go on the harsh switch from 1v1s to the information overload of seeing all the text for all the players on the sides. And, well, they're going to bust out, force Rubenstock to chase, and start heading over towards the pocket. Now, Valis has gone with the Slavs, full 3 stables, not adding in any extra TCs. He's just going to try to buy time for the Max to get his boom on. And we'll play very aggressive early on. China will now see all 3 of the stables. And that's the light cav upgrade, even. Kind of a curious upgrade. I mean, he does still have 8 of them. Right now, though, he and Rubenstock are pinned in the back. And they're going to have to do something about this mass army of crossbows that's getting into Valas's base. And this is also into the team walls, which does open up the max for Yo at some point to run his knights through. And those knights from Valas will just have to come out from the stables. But this is where the armies might get trapped here. It's 26 crossbows against 25. Just so hard to micro against the Britain's player at this point. But if you're at the stage of the game where you're shooting the knights, then the range doesn't really matter that much. The Incas player would get an advantage after Thumb Ring in the Knight Dance fight. And this is where China has to be kind of careful, because when you start going towards the opposite pocket, that gives the Max a chance to come back with his knights and maybe try to take a fight 3v1. Britons do have an easier time microing away. But it's now Cavalier from the Max, as he's going to be dancing with Lix's Arambai. And Valesa, we see he has about an 8-vil lead over Tim, both of them on 3 TCs. And Tim trying to annoy with crossbows. Nice garrison there from Valesa. Can't really play crossbows forever against the Mayans, but that's not something the Goths would want to do anyway. He will eventually want to probably just get up a castle and make a Huscarl transition, and he is on the stone for doing just that. With Goths as the flank, I think this usually is a situation where Mayans eventually do want to make that plumed archer switch. And we do see Valesa on the stone, just they have an attack bonus against infantry, so they'll be better than the Arbalest line would be. And yeah, this is exactly what we were saying earlier. It looks like some Cavalier from the Max have come back here and are helping out with this fight, and they're taking a 3v2 fight, where Lix was late coming in with the Arambai, and all of those crossbows now are cleaned up. Lix taking a decent fight with Arambai to get some crossbows at the front, but not going to get quite as many kills as Finland did. As the Wolf is getting involved chasing the Arambai, but it's just so hard to chase down and kill Arambai in the Castle Age with only Cavaliers. And, well, a great decision from the Max to come back and clean that army from China. So that's going to give slight score lead to Finland, and also they have a slight villager lead, up by about 12 vils. Not that much in a team game. But a lead nevertheless, as the knights on the right-hand side are starting to break in through some of the houses. And we're actually going to see 4 TCs from Vivi on the flank. Now, Britons do have the cheaper TCs, so you do want to add them in, but can also be a bit of a risk to go for that big of an eco boom on the flank and be late on your Imperial Age for how strong the Imperial Age upgrades are for the archer line, and especially Britons when they just get that free extra range too. In the middle now, looks like it's time for the Arambai to get a good fight though, as they have come over and managed to pick off quite a few of Rubenstock's crossbows there. As so mobile, the Cavaliers can't really catch up to them. They just gotta micro them over and over, and now it's time for the pockets of China here, as Yo wants to come over and help take another fight. And he will engage the Cavaliers as the Arambai just clean up the rest of the crossbows, and now Lix can get a good fight on the Cavaliers. And remember, no bloodlines, so it's not like these are super powerful Cavaliers, they're just Castle Age ones. And now we have the Imperial Age on 89 vils over here for Mr. Yo, but at the same time now we have Valas and Valesa flank and opposite pocket converging on this TC, taking out some of his forward eco. He's going to lose about a dozen vils out there, as that TC will go down. He is walled for the rest of his base, but some of that is merely with palisades, so crossbows and knights will break through quickly if they want to. And Yo, as he's up to Imp, is the bottom scorer on his team. And if he wants to add in those farms, there's going to be nothing protecting them from Valas getting in with knights. He needs to go for more house walls, but will be hard to do that with crossbows lurking nearby. Has to come back with his own knights, and Lix's Arambai has a mangonel on the crossbows. Valesa not paying attention and eats a couple of mangonel shots there. Not the most, but his crossbows will go down, and Yo's eco will, at least for the moment, be saved. He is still up to Imp with the Franks. On the left-hand side, Tim still trying to be annoying with his crossbows, and actually does have a pretty big vil lead over Valesa now, as both players are up to Imp. But this will now be Goths versus Mayans on the left-hand side. And if Lix can keep the max occupied, keep the pockets away, then in the long run, that should be favored for Tim. It's really this mid-game area where the Mayans should be shining. But much more successful imp transition for Tim, as he does have that 4th TC added in and will have a much better eco. Yeah, and Tim doing a great job of booming. And booming while no one died, Lix is still very much alive. And Finland might have a bigger Vil lead overall. But they are eating some mangonel shots again, as Yo coming forward with that mangonel, and we'll be losing a lot of army here, as both the Arambai and the mangonel and the crossbows are fighting here against Rubenstock. As Rubenstock loses numbers, his crossbows will be less effective, and they're all going to go down. And as they go down, now the Arambai can turn around and save the crossbows here from the knights, and Vivi, even with his extra TC, is up. The real benefit, though, for Finland is just the max. He has 140 Vils, he has up a castle, he has a lot of cavaliers. Will he open Paladin and then make a Croustier change? And on the left-hand side, though, it looks like Tim, though, as he was going up to Imp, has armies breaking into his base here from the max. As China takes the overall score lead, Tim hits Imperial Age, but just as he hits Imp, all of these cavaliers are breaking in. The forward castle from Valessa helped to open up Tim's base. And he is the Goths, he can't go for those stone walls, only for the houses, and his eco will be disrupted, as he is the highest scorer on his team, though, even after all that Dark Age laming. There's chemistry here from Valessa, and as much as he had a smaller eco than Tim, this raid has helped to even that out, and he is the Mayans, he doesn't need that much of an eco. Tim will be going for a defensive castle, but he probably needed that earlier, as he still will be relying on Lix to clear this army as he tries to get his Goth spam going. China now with the score lead, and Finland will be relying on the max. It feels like Rubenstock is suffering here. Incas versus Britons in the long run, also a very difficult matchup for the Incas, I think. He could maybe make a switch to Eagles if he wants to fight that many Arbs, but his own Arbs just won't have the range for this. On the left-hand side, looks like we do have some Trebs for Tim. Trebs are popping for both players. And it will be a good old early Imperial Trebuchet war on these two castles. The Arambai wanting to come forward. Arambai themselves not that good at taking out Trebs, but they can pick off the Trebs given that they are undefended, and their real role here will just be making a path for the Halves to take it out. And after a couple of volleys here, we have 10 repair vills for Valessa. That will not be enough against 3 Trebs. And Tim's castle right now not under any pressure, and he's continuing to pump out even more trebuchets. Treb for Valessa, using the hill bonus against this castle might be a bit more effective for him. But he really does need the max to swoop in and clear out these Trebs. That'll be 4 trebuchets for Tim, as Lix now is over with the Arambai. Plumes themselves, not that good at picking off Trebs, but here are the Paladins, but Bloodlines less Paladins. As Max is the Burgundians, and he will spam as much as he can, but this is where I feel like the Burgundians kind of can fall off when they don't have that clear late-game power unit with how weak their Paladins are. That is Valas teching into. He is doing Elite Boyar. And he will have castles up, so that will stop the progression of the Arbs and the Arambai into his base. And you do, at some point as the Slavs, I think you have to make that Boyar switch. Your Cavaliers just, they don't really hold up either. I mean, in the long run, they could get Boyar Croustier. And that would be a pretty insane composition from the pockets. Just need Rubenstock to hold on as they are taking the score lead, even though it feels like Tim is pushing back and now is ready just to go Goths against the Mayans, spamming out as many Halves as he can. Valessa tried to make that Plumed Archer switch, even invested into Elite Plume, but now he's only going to have a single castle from which to produce them. And as I was saying, you usually do prefer the Plumes against the Goths than the Arbs, but might not have the production. as Tim continues pushing forward with his Trebs, and this score lead for Finland is all from the max. He's adding in more castles, and there is that elite Custier. So he will switch out from the early Paladins now to the Custier, as we now have Yo researching Paladin as the Franks. He's continued to be raided now even more from Valas. And we'll have that forward castle at least delayed until he's able to clean this up, but is doing that Paladin upgrade, while Valas isn't even going to invest into Cavaliers. He's going to go straight to those Boyars, now adding in a third castle at home. On the right-hand side, Rubenstock playing like he does on Black Forest, walling up absolutely everything, even behind the forest, to prevent the cuts. And it looks like he's just going to be taking a village and migrating with it, as the Frankish Paladins are 20 seconds away for Yo. And on the other side, now the max with a group of Paladins and Custier will be trying to take a good charge against these Trebuchets. They will go down pretty quickly to charge attacks, but the Goths will have Halberdiers mixed in for trying to deal with the cavalry. Now, these will be much more powerful units than the Goths. The Goths' strength, as I'm sure you all know, is with their spam and their cheap units and their fast production. That means Tim might have a negative KD, and that's okay as long as the fights are still cost-effective. Plumed Archer, though, now the unit that you want late game against the Halbs. And even against the Arambai, they're not going to be hurt by the lack of attack compared to the Arbalest line. They have 9 attack versus 10 attack, but usually that matters a lot versus Cav that have high armor. For Burmese Arambai, Plumes will be just fine. And now, Max doesn't even need Trebs. He's just right-clicking the castle with his army and gonna have 1 Treb in the back there to finish it off. And the repairs come in, but not in time to keep the castle alive, and that goes down. On the right-hand side, though, the push continues into Rubenstock. And thank you, Dano1979 Dano, for the follow. On the right-hand side, the normal game of Arabia is, well, progressing as a pretty clear win for China. But the crazy game of Arabia, well, Finland still has the score lead. That's from the max. Is the max able to carry this? It feels like Rubenstock is going to be out of the game for a while. He does still have 85 vills, but he needs to run them. He has 15 in that TC. Oh, and Frank YXHI for the follow. Thank you very much. Lix is 50 Arambai. Lix has, well, now 36 Arambai. He did just take a fight. This side was a push for China, but now looks like Finland's pushing back. And Lix wanted a market back there, but I think their trade's going to run from the western corner to the southern corner. Yo has markets, but he'll just have to trade that in that direction. And the rest of the team will need their markets down here, as their initial push looked like they would secure this side, but not actually going to happen. And maybe difficult for Tim to wall that up too, even as the Goths. So if we look at the trade numbers, we see a lot of trade added in already for Finland, not much for China. And especially for the Max, that should help power his Custier production, as he does have 4 castles, and now our 5th castle going down in the middle. That could be denied by Lix if he's paying attention. And Max will need to delete that, as his vills will be taken out. And that castle will not go up. A couple of monks for the Max, too, not getting that center control that he wanted. On the right-hand side, though, the push continues for China, as this Boyar switch has come in. Not as much HP on Boyar as on Paladins, so they don't hold up as well to the Arbs, and especially not as much as the Frankish Paladins. But all of that melee armor doesn't mean they win the 1v1 fight against the Paladins. And also, well, if you're gonna have Boyar, maybe the Britons with their lack of thumb ring is the save you want to use them against. Where at this stage of the game, the range matters more against the archer player than it does against the cav player. But it does help keep the trebuchets alive from a distance, as we have some watchtowers being added in for Vivi. He's doing siege engineers at his university. And it's still Britain's Franks powering on the right-hand side. And Arambai over here to take a good fight against the Boyars, kill quite a lot of them, And as Rubenstock is contributing only skirms, the Paladins will be able to take that fight if they want to jump there. And the Max coming over. And Yo not wanting to fight the Kustier. Finland still with a score lead, but an ever so slight score lead. As on one side, Tim feels like he might be in a bit more of a stable position than Rubenstock is. And this is an amazing Arabia game so far. Vallessa losing another Treb, and a couple of Trebs from the Max have to get back and retreat. Plumed Archer is getting some shots on the infantry, but now the Paladins surrounding them. And this is what you don't want with Plumes, needing to fight the opposite pocket's Paladins. You want to be the one fighting the Goths and the Arambai. Nothing about Rubenstock's gameplay is ever stable. Fair enough. But it feels like China, now as they take the score lead, is pushing on both fronts. Using their Frankish Paladins, but still it's against Kustier and the Boyars. The Arambai from Lix just doing such a good job in the late game. Their mobility paying off. As Rubenstock needing to throw in some more walls in the back just to try to keep them trapped. As they'll be clumped up, and even will take out all of those Hussars. And he'll still have... He has 20 Arambai on this one tile. What is that stacking? These units do stack pretty well, too. And this army will need to delete that lumber camp and try to take them out. And Arbalests actually do a pretty good job of taking out TCs. The castle's going down for Valas. That's going to cut into his Boyar production when that was the unit he wanted to go for. And we continue having now guard towers added in for Vivi. Don't know what the point of them is, but he's sure has a lot of them. I feel like the Britons probably want castles in case he ever wants to do a longbow switch, which if you're 50 minutes into the game and you start getting your trade established, could be an option. But 46 trade for the Max. And Vallessa has a great KD. Tim's awful, but that's how you play the Goths. On this side, he's still continuing to just spam halberdiers. We'll need to get the Huskarls out if he ever wants to fight the Plumes, but the Halbs will be effective against the Kustier. Maybe not from KD perspective, but at least from a numbers perspective. Especially if they can fight them in small numbers like that. We have a lot of castles here. We see how the mine's longer lasting stone helps. That's, what is that? 6 castles here from Vallessa for pumping out Plumes, so he is fine to go for Plumed Archer production. He's got no problem with that. But he's having to hold while we basically have a 3v3 on the other side, both Lix and the Max needing to come over here and help out their teammates, but the Arambai being so effective at pushing. So effective at breaking into this base and getting in now to the trade line. They don't really care about the skirmisher fire. They have enough attack that they can actually kill skirms. It's not like this would be, say, even a Mangudai raid that would at least struggle to kill off defending skirms. The Arambai can just take that fight. Stand in the middle of the trade, clear out the units that would have been attacking them, and as Valas is trying to throw down another castle, this army is getting closer and closer to the edge of the map and already is in some of the trade. Vallessa needing to come over and send his Plumes to help clear this up. Maybe if Finland can take a good fight and clear some of the Arambai, they can get to a point where they stabilize. But look at the army numbers, so much higher for China, 100 military more. Finland really needs to take a good fight and get Rubenstock back into the game. For the Incas, it's going to be difficult to contribute this late if you're not able to get to Arbalests. And China about to take 3 corners and almost even 4 corners with the way Tim has been pushing. As they're now getting to markets, they're getting to trade. I guess maybe one change that we are seeing in the map is I made it so that you don't have double cliffs in the corners. You can have one cliff, but you can't have them doubled up. Which I think help. This might be a situation where that's helping Finland with their market placements early on. As you can see how disruptive the cliffs are in keeping the markets out of the corners. And, well, finally Finland gets something of a clear, but still there are 3 armies pushing in. These are Britain Treb, so they can have Warwolf. Doesn't help against the castles, but will help against units. if they need to get some shots in, as Vlus is trying to defend over here, as this huge push is just getting right into these skirmishers and those plumes. China opening up their score lead, taking down these castles, and opening up also a route to the trade. One more charge of Christie coming in from the Max as they're trying to take this fight. Rubenstock cosplaying as Survivalist with skirms. Now, Survivalist doesn't like skirms in the late game, from all I've seen. As more vills are coming forward, 25 villagers, entire village here, just adding in keeps. They keep on making progress. Now, this isn't Age of Empires 4. You don't get a bonus for keeping your units near the towers, thankfully. But the keeps themselves do help control the map. And oh, here come the Warwolf Trebs, I think. And oh, not an impressive shot there. Need to get into the middle here. Another not impressive shot. Oh, Vivi. Vivi needs to learn how to Warwolf. Gets a farm. And, well, Finland fighting under the keeps with 3 players trying to get as big of a rainbow as they can. The keeps actually being really effective here and keeping the villagers safe too, as here comes the Max adding to the rainbow, and everyone on Finland now fighting together. Plumes, Boyars, Christie, trash units. And they will take out the Trebs and slowly but surely secure this flank. Now, 69 trade for the Max. Finland, other than Rubenstock, has a lot more trade than does China. And they were bending, but they didn't quite break in this quarter. And on the left-hand side, Tim, as the Goths, just has not been able to push in against Vlesa and get to the trade over here, despite being so close. Now, China has about 3/4, maybe even 4/5 of the map under their control. But now Finland's starting to push back. Now Finland is starting to make some progress here. They've taken out the help of Lix. And if they can just get Rubenstock to have... Well, he is back in the game now, but he needs to get up to 200 population. We see China consistently at more population, as once again they've opened up another army lead. Rubenstock is at 100 vills. If that were 100 vills with like 40 trade and he could just spam army from then on and get to 200 pop, he'd be okay, but still has a bit more work to do in terms of getting his eco set. Caravanserai heal all units and not just trade carts? Oh, that sounds like a bad bug. Stock lacking production. So the show of the stone price in the market, it is not that absurd yet. Only 202 gold for 100 stone. And now more castles being added for Valas in defense. That'll let him restart his Boyar production, where he's actually kind of dropping in population too. Finland under 700. They really need to get back up towards that 800 mark like China is. China can get over 800. They can go to 810 with the Goths. And remember, Rob Chang, this is the old patch. It's not going to be as buggy as the new patches. You don't have those Caravanserai bugs. At least hopefully not. So, Vlesa cleared from the right-hand side. Power of the Rainbow may be subsiding a bit. But looking at the populations now, we're starting to recover a bit for Rubenstock. Getting closer to 200 and up to 114 vills with 12 trade. Getting to the trade numbers he needs to have a decent economy. It's still just so hard to fight the Arbs when you're not going to have Arbs of your own. It's only skirms and halbs. On the left, Lix still trying to fight with the Rambai, the Max fighting with Christie. That's a lot of Arambai. Another group of 50 Arambai for Lix, and as he's getting up to this number, well, now the Plumes need to worry about basically being mangonelled by the Arambai. Now, usually Archer numbers are supposed to counter Arambai, but will this be enough Plumes to do so? Only 49 Plumes, which isn't even a full group. That's because there is 54, or there is a total of 54 trade carts for Lessa. As well, we're well past the hour mark now of this game, and feels like China has the map control, but Finland is just managing to hold on. And if they can somehow just get up their population to a better number, they might be able to push this back. But now Yo's coming over to this side, and once again, we'll be using his paladins to fight the Plumes. That's exactly what Finland doesn't want to deal with, paladins on the Plumes. And the Arambai will be pushing into this castle, as what is this? Yo has forward villagers, needs... has he done sappers? Looks like he hasn't. Do the Franks even have sappers? That's not a check I'm aware of everyone who has it and doesn't. But he's pushing the castle with his villagers and with Tim's trebs. But let's be honest, it's the vills that matter. And down that castle goes. And this game has just been amazing on the right-hand side. Looks like the Boyar numbers are there, though, for Rubenstock. And if Yo isn't here, that might give Rubenstock and Valas, the Boyar numbers for Valas might give this side a chance to push. Taking out keeps, though. What is this? He's got 19 keeps. This is what I learned from the Saladin Showdown. Taking out keeps takes a long time when you just have a few trebs. It's now the left-hand side that feels to be collapsing after that push on the right failed. Now it's Yo coming over, as now that their trade is crippled, Finland will call the GG. Mr. Yo and his castle-destroying villagers being the final straw that breaks the camel's back, and Finland, after an amazing game 1 on Arabia, calls the GG. China takes it and managed somehow to make the Goths and Burmese work, with the Arambai carrying in the late game too. GG there. And I'll look at the stats. We'll have the achievements. Let's see. Highest military score for Valessa. Here's my highest overall score is Vivi with the Britons. But I think you got to give MVP there for Lix with the Arambai. Oh, GG. Goths OP. And I think that, looking at the way this worked out, when you pick the colors, you can either have red versus blue or red versus gray. I think this is exactly what China wanted with the Goths versus Mayans, and not Goths versus Incas. I think Incas are a much better matchup for taking out the Goths than the Mayans are. As much as I'd still favor Mayans on the flank in the late game, it starts to get a bit more tricky. So military, most kills for Valessa, most deaths for Tim, fewest for Lix, keeping the Arambai alive and microing them. That's the power of having a ranged unit from the pocket that's actually pretty good at killing knights. Now, most eco for the max with the Burgundians, but even with the Cuirassiers, kind of hard to make a very quick and effective push in early imp when your paladins lack bloodlines, and wasn't quite able to carry the early game as hard as he might have wanted to. And let's see, Frank's player first one up. Valas doing good 19 pop up from the pocket. Lix with his fast castle. Most vills for the max, and most APM for Valessa as the mines. So we will have attempt number 2. Let me get the colors set here. So China will be once more in the warm colors. We'll have Vivi as the Spanish, getting his TC up on the western side near that gold, and we'll have nearby boar. Berries nestled in the forest. Interesting. Maybe I should be preventing that. I don't know if I can prevent that for 4v4s like I can for 1v1s. It might take the map too long to generate. But then we'll also have Yo placing his TC down here on this forest. And Tim. So Tim, Yo, Vivi, all pretty close to each other. And then Lix will be as the Malay by himself out on the side. And remember, no more resorts for China. For Finland, we will have Valas as the Malians and Velessa as the Dravidians in the middle of the map. Rubenstock as the Koreans will be by himself, and then Max in the Cyan as the Persians will be to the north. Now, our Persian player making paladins, just fish booming into paladins, might be what Finland wants. I mean, everyone else is kind of in the south. The Max is all by himself. And Persian boom into paladins, is that better than a Spanish boom into paladins? Maybe it is, because the Persians could go for camels too. Although I think what we really do hope for is the Max to boom and go for war elephants. I don't know if that would happen, but that's what should happen. And a boom like there's no tomorrow. And, well, if you're Finland, if there's one player you want booming by himself, it's got to be the Max. Now, Rubenstock with his TC here probably won't douche anyone. And Lix with his TC over here probably won't douche anyone. Unless these two delete their TCs to douche each other. Imagine if Lix and Rubenstock just delete their TCs and end up exchanging places. That would be insane, but it might happen with these players one day. I have an early loom for Tim. Gonna focus on getting his fishing ships out. We see Finland does have a Vil lead. That is because of their Dravidian player letting them get their fishing ships out earlier from their docks. We just saw Vivi use that sheep, scouting along the coast to find the dock there of Velessa. He won't see which player's dock that was unless he was paying close attention to the sheep, but he'll see that it got captured there and he'll know that there's a dock there. Well, that's what you do on Nomad. Usually you want one sheep on the coast scouting for the docks, and another sheep on the inside scouting for TCs, but since we do have the Vietnamese, China won't have to be scouting for the TC locations. They'll know exactly where they are. Finland will have to use their sheep to do some scouting, as we see them doing on the middle now, or in the middle now, and also along the coast. Seeing that house there will give the dock location away. That's actually something maybe I hadn't thought of before, but seeing this, maybe on Nomad, you want to just plop the house down in the middle with your villager as you're walking to the edge. So then that might make it a bit harder to scout your dock location. Ever so slightly, because it's just a couple of tiles, but sometimes every tile matters. And now what we see is Rubenstock coming over and wants to deal with Vivi at the dock. Well, the good thing about these houses is he can always delete them and keep his Vil safe. What Rubenstock would ideally do is wall in the dock villager, even if he's not going to fight it, as it would have been a no loom versus no loom fight. And if you can wall the dock villager in, that means they will never be able to make a second or third dock. So you can add in your own docks and have the advantage in dock production on the water to win it. Vivi paying good attention there. And Finland now up 70 to 62, and we see what such a good start they can get off to with the Dravidians, and then just combining that with Persians and also with Malians. If you won't go water, though, as the Spanish? Oh, that's a good point. Oh, Max needing to be careful with his boar, and that's not a very good lure. I got a bit confused between that tree and that bush there, but at least it's by the TC. And he will be able to keep taking it. Should have a good fish boom, though. And look at the Max's dock. The dock even is all by itself. The closest dock will be Vivi as the Spanish player, adding in a second dock on the opposite side of the map. So giving him a place to run his fishing ships. He knows that he is sandwiched here. Yo will be in the yellow as the Vietnamese. Also won't be up quite as fast. And then even Koreans on the water. They don't have a Dark Age bonus to go up, but then their ships are cheaper. So hard to dislodge them if you don't have a great uptime. Looks like Lix should be getting a free fish boom as the Malay. All the docks on this map kind of far apart other than this row of 4 on the north, but I guess that's what putting all 4 of them together does. It means the other ones have more breathing room. Now, Vala says the Malian's not really near anyone else. Thank you, Inquisidor, for the follow. Welcome to the stream. As villager lowering a board now in the south. Bringing it back towards the TC. See if Tim is successful, and it does pathfind between the houses. It's a good use of boar there. And, oh, what is this? Looks like Yo came across a dock from the Max and managed to wall him out of it. So nice use of the palisades there. That'll stop Max from getting that up. Walling it completely in, so it's not like he could even transport ships and sneak it up. And stopping it at 85% too, that's quite a bit of wood. And there's Valessa up to the feudal age. Still has some sheep left. He is chopping Valessa's wood line. At least they are on the same team. Once again, berries nestled in the wood line. Barracks from Tim might be looking to go scouts with the Burgundians. We'll at least have those eco upgrades while he's in the castle age. And there he is up and adding in a stable. As he also has double bit axe on his lumber camp on the way. And Lix is he's just going to be stone walling. Doesn't want to get castle dropped. He's going to wall himself off. And if he can wall off a huge area of the map, go to the coastline, he's going to have a big boom. Can he actually get all of this walled though? As it looks like Yo is going to be running his fishing ships too. Pretty big run for him. And where's he going to go to? Looks like Valessa does have a few galleys out of his own. And takes a good early fight here against Lix. Lix wasn't patrolling maybe, and Valessa got the jump on the galleys. I'm sure he'd love to take one out, neither player with fletching yet. Now Finland with the score lead, and still the slight villager lead, thanks to their early start. And Tim going for the tower rush. And the one thing this tower rush will do is it's going to make sure that these players remain open to being castle dropped, as Tim now has the scouts out. And Valessa is just going to wall up, and Valessa, who might have been wanting to mine stone for a castle, is going to be kicked off of it now. Javidian is probably not the civ you want castle dropping. Oh, thank you, Loon, for the follow. And adding the blacksmith, will Valessa try to FC here, or is that just for fletching for his ships? As this tower rush will now be annoying, as Tim will be disrupting two players, and that's exactly what you want to do on Nomad. Disrupt two players. If you'll put yourself behind, you want to hit two. Valessa won't be too disrupted, he'll have options to move down and grab some more gold. But now, if Vivi does eventually want to go for a castle drop as he's up, this does mean that there is an opening now, thanks to these towers, that he can't be walled out. And Valessa's main gold here. As Valessa has tried to tower it Tim as well, but feel like he's been much less effective with his tower placements. And the scouts will be here to help secure the castle location. Watchtower going up for Valessa, but Tim will make his own tower there and be ready to fight it, as he's sending a whole bunch of vills forward. And he'll just be racing up that tower, and then probably you can get on the corners with a couple of vills to start fighting this down. You could get there with the scouts immediately too if you wanted to. And yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. He sends the vills there right in the corners to try to fight the tower while also shooting with this one. But Vivi up to the castle age, and what will Vivi do? Will he castle drop or will he boom? He is on stone, as is Yo. And this might be both Vietnamese and Spanish wanting to castle drop. As there it is. There is the castle, not on Yo's main gold, but on Valas's... I mean, not on Valas's main gold, but on Valas's TC. At the same time, Valas had been adding in a workshop, but that won't really be useful with a castle there, and Tim just continuing with the towers. Rubenstock with a castle at home, but a castle at home, what's that going to do against a fully walled Lix? And not all that much. Lix maybe needs to actually do stone walls there instead of palisades and houses to stop war wagons getting in. But he's almost fully walled to the edge of the map. And in fact, Yo actually has walled there, so he just needs to go to that forest and he will be fully walled. As this now will be a second TC for Rubenstock as he's starting to queue up the war wagons. But the castle drop is there and the conquistadors are starting to come out right on Valas's main TC. And Valas will go for a monastery and some monk defense. And we still do have Valessa and the Max in the feudal age. What is Max still doing feudal? He's clicking up to castle on 39 Vils, but it feels a bit slow when you're just the player with the free boom. I guess he had been fighting on the water a bit. Did eventually get this dock up. Does still have 7 fishing ships. 9 though for Vivi as he was able to run them and keep them alive, so great job building that extra dock from Vivi. Knowing exactly how to play Nomad as the Spanish. And looks like Valessa's gonna need to run pretty soon. He doesn't have much of a space to run to though. He's surrounded by towers and Tim has the scouts out to prevent the Vils from running as China takes the score lead. Finland still with the Vil lead, but it's all gonna come down to can the Max boom and carry, or can Rubenstock do something useful with his war wagons, as Lix is just booming away. So maybe this is the useful thing with the war wagons he needed, as Lix, I was saying he could just wall that forest, but doesn't fully wall in time, and now the wagons and the knights are into his base when he committed so much to the stone walls early on. And they'll get a Vil right away. And even the Malay, are they really the civs with whom you want to boom? They can boom into Karambits or Elephants or Arbs or Halbs, but not really a cheap, powerful, and mobile unit like a Paladin boom. Maybe Elephants could be useful though. They could also try to go for some early imp pressure, but for now, those Vils are under that TC, and there isn't much in the way of a wood income. And even just a few units here, causing a lot of damage to Lix. At the same time, Conquistadors will be getting in on the Max, though, so his boom won't be completely free. He did not actually try to wall himself in. And maybe part of the reason is he doesn't have any gold in the north. The obvious walls would be here, here, and here, but those won't work because he needs gold. He needs to protect the front of his base somehow. And that's maybe where some type of team walling with Rubenstock could have paid off early on. Or if he knows Rubenstock's dropping the castle, maybe the castle drop would go here where it would protect the Max. But Conquistadors are in, which will just be awful for Max, and his completely free and uninterrupted boom now will be interrupted. You see, trying to get some shots on the Conquistadors. And we'll take out one of them as it goes forward. Ooh, actually it won't, it'll get away. You can go to a castle and heal up now, or find a monk. And, ooh, nice quick... Oh, no, not... Wait, what? What happened to that war wagon? it got quick walled, I guess. The graphics are just big. There's more dead. Elixir Valessa. I feel like it has to be Valessa. He's still in the feudal age. Elixir's down to 39 Vils, though, and I guess Valessa is up to castle. And he will be able to migrate. He has migrated a lot of Vils, just needs to get to the castle age to rebuild his TC. Or to add in more TCs. Now the Conquistadors fighting the war wagons, but neither side wanting to really commit there. Defensive mangonels are out for Valas, and he's ready to defend. And looking at the Vil numbers, it is 57 now for Vivi, 62 for Valas, and 56 for the Max. The Max now moving forward with some TCs on these golds. and with some outposts trying to keep himself safe. And I just can't help but think if Lix had just added the stone walls over to this forest, he'd still be alive. Maybe committed a few more villas to walling. Oh, the Conquistador is getting in on some villas for Valis as he's building a TC, but the TC does go up in time. And keeps those villas safe. In the middle, the Conquistador is still getting some kills on some camels as our Malian player tried to add in a few camels. Still tricky to use against the Conquistadors though, but here comes Mr. Yo with the Rattan Archers. There was, I guess, an overforage on the berries. The Rattans found a path in. And now those mangonels become even more crucial at dealing with the Rattan Archers. TC fire doesn't really deal with them. Well, it will until they get their pierce. Nope, it will do 1 damage because there are no range upgrades on the or attack upgrades for the TC. So Yo doesn't even need to invest in the armor, and he could actually run under the TC and sit there for a bit and absorb some fire. 40 HP isn't that much. But the pierce armor means they can absorb quite a few rounds of TC arrows and still pick off whatever vills don't get inside and idolate. It is an option for him. As Valesa's starting TC still stands, and he is adding in 1, 2, 3 additional TCs for a total of 4. And it does feel like both teams still have a presence on the water, but maybe that's going in favor of Finland, as they do have the score lead, and especially the max, as he is up to now 79 eco units, and his boom is strong. He'll have those faster working Persian TCs, and just needs to worry about the Conquistadors. Still has not found a way to wall his base, and Rubenstock will need to play a role in defending him, as 1 Conquistador does get converted there in exchange for 2 monks. Another monk in the back didn't start converting early enough, and he'll be picked off. So 1 Conquistador for 3 monks, probably not worth it there for the max. He's adding in a barracks, doesn't even have his own units to defend yet, and Persian monks, nothing to write home about. They are not particularly good as far as monks go, one of the worst monk civs. And the Conquistadors will still keep running around. Picking off villas here and there wherever they can. And it's not like China's slacking on their own booms, but Lix is just more dead. As you asked who's dead, more dead, Lix or Valesa? Well, it turns out it was Lix. Valesa was able to run and build more TCs. Lix just can't run from the war wagons. Has to delete a hole to run. But where's he gonna run? Straight into Valis? Valis can just quick wall here. And where's that Vil going? And he's noticed it. Those Vils are going to be trapped. He's gonna try to... No, he can't get out. There is no way out. You can run into this TC and be mangonelled down. You can run into this TC and be converted. As more quick walls coming from Valis, he's trapping these Vils as well as he can. That's 28 Vils remaining for Lix. This is now turning into a 4v3. Valesa still can contribute. And Finland, maybe, just maybe, they can give China their first loss on Nomad. I feel like it comes down to just one mistake from Lix. He wanted to go over here for the walls. When that was too long, he could have just gone here and been fine. And later on gotten up a second layer of walls. We let the war wagons in, and now as Vivi's still trying to raid, looks like he killed a lot of monks. Monk defense just not working out for the max, but at least he does have Rubenstock as a teammate to come over and use the war wagons to help deal with the Conquistadors. TC not being garrisoned there, but a lot of these Conquistadors will go down to some war wagon fire. In the south, we'll have mangonels exchanging shots. Valis trying to defend from Yo's castle drop, getting the repairs on his own mangonel. And can he stop this castle? Will this be a doubt castle? At the same time, we have a castle drop from Vivi, but there are war wagons there to defend it. In the south, now, redemption is in for Valis. Malians have good monks. He's trying to convert a mangonel, and he gets the conversion. At the same time, loses to it another mangonel shot. And he dies in the north, takes out a mangonel with the Rattans in the south, and with all of that, Yo deletes the final mangonel to avoid the conversion, and this castle, 89%. Another mangonel shot comes in, gets a few villagers. There just needs to be a great mangonel shot to kill the remaining vills, and there won't be as it goes down. This castle will go up. At the same time, the Max is trying to do a counter castle, but Tim is coming forward with monks. Vivi's there with the conquistadors, but not enough conks to fight all of these war wagons from Rubenstock. Ruben up to 31 war wagons. And this castle will go up for the Max. Now, Imperial Age on the way for Rubenstock. He will be up, but Yo already is up, doing some crop rotation, planning for a long game, but that might not be what you want with Licks at 34 vills and Finland all surviving. Now, Valos, who did have the vill lead earlier on, is down to 86, and he is now being castle dropped by Tim, so he might need to run. He actually might need to go through the hole that Licks had made in his own base, drop a castle here, and then run more. Licks still in the feudal age. Remember, Licks is not allowed to sling. His teammates can sling him, but in feudal you can't sling opponents in the castle or teammates in the castle or imperial age. And finally, we'll have some walls coming in for the Max, walling off this top part of the map. And water control also in favor of Finland. Everyone now clicking up on Finland other than Valos. Valos still struggling and migrating. Ram push from Vivi, but will that be enough to get through the castle? Score lead for Yo, as the Vietnamese, as he is doing ballistics now, and continuing to push into Valos. But the Max, there's bloodlines, there's Imp, there's the armor. He is soon going to swoop in with his Cyan Paladins. Just needs to get up and do the upgrades. Even has a few camels for trying to deal with conquistadors. Up over 114 vills as he's clicking up, so he should have the resources even despite the raids. Nice set of gates to try to keep the conquistadors out. Maybe a deleted farm and house is needed. But they will get in by the TC. They'll have to tank some TC fire as the war wagons now come over, and they're just going to get right out. They don't want to run in. And Vivi doesn't want to lose his numbers. These siege workshops will actually serve as walls to funnel the conquistadors in towards the castle. And if Max wanted to turn and fight, now he's going to go for the rams first. I was thinking he might be able to hit them, but now they're also going to be trapped underneath the TC. And the conquistadors are slowly taking fire from that TC and castle. The rams are being cleaned. And there is plate guarding for the Max, working his way towards paladins. Score is still neck and neck, flipping back and forth. As Yo up to 7,000, continuing to push into Valos. Valos down to 82 vills, and is Valos dead? Maybe not as dead as Licks, but is he dead now? As Licks finally is up to the castle age, most important part of the game for China, if it goes to the point where Yo's crop rotation pays off, we'll be getting Licks back into the game and contributing. Max took way too much damage from Vivi, and it felt like Max probably could have been maybe walled up a bit better too. Valos struggling, and now also Valessa struggling against this push from the Rattan Archers. We'll have Elephant Archers. How do Elephants do versus Rattan Archers? I have no idea. That's a lot of HP versus a lot of Pierce Armor. And now it is a Treb War. The Trebs are popping, but usually you favor Spanish over Persians in the Treb War situation. And that's not Paladin, that is Light Cav. Light Cav from the Max, as that is planned for sniping off the Trebs. There are Halberdiers there to guard them. And also though, some Trebs from Rubenstock clearing out this castle here from Vivi. The monks though want their conversions on the war wagons. The keeps have 8+3 range now. 8+3+2? What? They get up to, I think, 13 range on these keeps, and I guess that's what that has. Oh, wait, that's maybe the projectiles it's shooting. Okay, yeah, range and then extra +1 projectile, okay. Max only 1 on gold. And as I said earlier, these forward golds causing him problems. And I think maybe Rubenstock needed a castle in this area of the map just to secure Max some more gold. He's off of gold because he had been repairing that castle with all of his gold miners. Now they still need to find a way to take a fight together, and that's why Max is going for all of these light cap, because he doesn't have the gold for the paladins. And Vivi doing a good job of slowing down the Max, while at the same time Yo is able to push with the Vietnamese and get his archery ranges up in front of Lix. Now Valessa going full on Dravidian skirmishers, which should be a good set of skirmishers, but still it is skirmisher. And well, I guess if there's one archer for fighting skirms, it has to be the Rattan archer, and especially with bombard cannon support. He's slinging Valas, that's a good question. We'll keep an eye on the market events. Max is selling food for gold. And can they keep the Max bottled up? If Valas isn't here and Valessa has to fight Yo, there is still a chance that this 2v2 over here works out while Lix rebooms. Lix up to 43 vills. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 TCs, adding the 5th. And Valas up to the Imperial Age, 96 vills. He definitely will contribute before Lix. But will that be enough of a contribution until Lix gets into the game? Still feels like China does have a lot of the map control here. And it will be bombard towers out for Vivi. Did Max find gold in the top corner? He has no gold in the top corner. He has to fight for this gold before this one runs out. And that castle there from Rubenstock will be a key. Looks like there are now some Imperial skirmishers here for the Spanish. Those will be fully upgraded Imperial skirmishers. No particular bonuses for them. They'll be for fighting the war wagons. Bombard towers also will be effective against the war wagons. And a couple of trebs deployed already before that castle is up. At the same time, though, on the right, the paladins now are in for Tim. Tim going paladins. What does Valas have to defend this? He doesn't have much. Finland's still with the score lead, still with the Vill lead, but Lix, 61 Vills, he's coming back into the game, and if Valas is being raided, what's he going to contribute? The Malians don't have halbs, they need to get to Farimba Heavy Camel. We do have plate barding on the way. But will that be the answer to Burgundian Cavaliers? I mean, to Burgundian Paladins? These are just Burgundian ones, so they're not too scary, but they're getting a raid in nevertheless. Now Max is pushing, but maybe not fast enough. He has gotten some hussars on the left-hand side, but they have been walled out. Vivi on point with his walls, trying to keep the Max out, but that is just a mill. A mill that is being rammed, and the light cav, one that goes down, will have a path to get in. Vivi, he's trying to repair it, needs to right-click and get the stone walls up, which he does manage to do. There's no hole there, and Max still is not in. Stonewall's paying off big time for Vivi as he's trying to keep everything out, but at the same time, the light cav are getting in. Getting in and getting some raids as China has the score lead, but Finland now is pushing in the north. Trebs being deployed, not able to take out that castle. And another raid of paladins for Chim, getting in on Valessa. More and more Rattan archers for Yo. He's got a group of 50. How does this get defended? Valessa is not really making a gold unit. Can Valas come to his rescue? We have siege engineers for Rubenstock, and he needs to help push too, as 77 Vills, and on the way to Imp is Lix. And Lix is going to start contributing to this game. We might now, though, see some Farimba heavy camels. Maybe these can stop the paladin raids before Lix gets up. Or to the left, there's stone over here. I think there's no gold over here either. There's one gold that he maybe could have taken, but also is behind Vivi's walls. So Vivi trying to throw down a castle at the spot where Max is raiding him, but can't get the foundation placed, is going for halbs, but Max has his own halbs too. It'll be halb, ram, and hussar on the left. So Max just using his gold for siege. China hanging on, Tim continuing to push with the paladins, Rubenstock here completely with the war wagons. We have 27 military now for Valas, but 74 military for Mr. Yo. And overall population still in favor of China, as Max just doesn't have access to gold, and the paladins still raiding. Valas still on only 83 villas even after clicking up, doing his own cavaliers. If he can get to Farimba cavaliers, then he can maybe do some damage to what remains of Lix's eco, but Lix is very stone-walled. It's every little enclave of economy he has is stone-walled. This could maybe be a petard bust, but Lix is adding in some double layers to that. At some point, though, these 52 Rattans will be jumped by cavaliers. That point is not yet, though. They have 7 bombard cannons, and they can start to take out this castle in these stables, as Valas still needs a few more rounds. Probably wants to get at least like 50 or so before jumping that. And, well, Lix, by the time the jump comes, he'll be there with halbs. He'll be there with halberdiers. Lix somehow still contributing to this game. And Valas, again, being pushed as the score lead continues to open up for China. And the castle goes down to the west. The push continuing to come in for Tim as he's charging in with paladins. Burgundian paladins, but still paladins against a player who has not managed to secure himself gold. Still has a bit of unmined gold by that TC, but just was never able to secure the gold at the front of his base, mining it now, but now his team seems to be falling behind. And now the Trebs of Rubenstock in danger as a castle goes down. As paladins from Tim coming in and going for the Treb snipes, backed up by Imperial skirmishers, so the war wagons can't go too far forward. And this is looking like a good win for China to take a 2-0 lead. As Lix is back, he's adding in halbs, and 91 vills to the 72 of Valas. Finally, we've gotten to a point where Lix, not as dead as Valas is, Lix is alive and he is thriving. And he'll be making a stable switch as the Malay, and he's doing it. He's doing the Malay battle elephants. He meant to pick Magyards, and he will be spamming elephants. Doesn't Max make elephants? He doesn't have any gold for it. Max has been struggling for gold this whole game. That's why he's not making paladins. Why he's not making elephants. Just now he's gotten the paladin upgrade. And maybe with them, those Persian Cyan paladins. Can the Max carry with that? We have Onager now for Rubenstock, maybe going for Siege Onager. But his teammates need a way to deal with the Malaysian elephants and the Rattan archers. Maybe Siege Onager from Rubenstock could give him the opportunity to do that. I mean, Vil counts are still only 20 difference between the teams. And it does feel like Finland at least has about maybe half of the map now. Slightly less. Castle getting some shots on the Imp Skirms, but Paladins will take out the Treb. Another Treb here and there, just kind of being trickled in. Some trickle trebbing here from the Chinese team. What can be trickled, though, are towers, bombard towers moving forward. It is so hard to finish off China on Nomad. They win this game, and if they do go back to rematch Canada, I don't see Canada winning them on Nomad either. Finland, I think, is the only team that can do it. And they came so close. At this point now, here come the elephants. Valesa hasn't really gotten away from skirmishers this whole game. And now, Valas, 82 vills, not able to contribute here. These consistent raids from Yo have kept paying off. Valas never had peace as he tried to run. Castle will take out the Rattans. Could have tried water trade. I don't think you can get that established fast enough to pay the gold off on Nomad. It's max. It's not like he had a respite where he could just send vills to mine gold. He has constantly been fighting. As he finally has paladins, but this castle from Rubenstock is being pushed. And Finland now being restricted to about a quarter of the map. And the bombard towers are out for Yo. He's cleaning paladins with the bombard towers. Remember, the Rattans even have an extra attack for fighting the paladins. And now Rubenstock struggling as Valas is suffering at the front of his base, losing another TC. And Max, now your pocket player who wants to be doing the paladins, is stuck going for the halbs. China now, see, Vivi has started adding in trade with the Spanish. And they will have a smooth trade line wherever they want. They could also trade diagonally if they wanted to really maximize that trade and take advantage of the map. And there are the GGs. Finland runs out of gold and the Max's boom can't carry them. Lix booms back into the game. And China, after two amazing games, both over an hour, takes a 2-0 lead. And we'll have Yo with the highest overall score. Rubenstock with the most kills. Tim with the most resources collected. Fastest feudal for Lix, fastest castle for Vivi, and fastest imp for Yo. Most villagers for Rubenstock, and highest APM once again goes to Valesa. So Valesa so far with 1 APM over Yo and 2 over Valas, our fastest APM player. Tim the slowest, apparently. Any reason why they banned Arena? Well, it came down to the last 3 maps of Arena, Arabia, and Mega Random, and I think they just wanted to play Arabia. Maybe they wanted to play Mega Random, actually, but they banned Arena. I think that Arena would have been a better pick for them against China, but China probably would have banned that anyway. So they were leaving it up to China to pick Arabia or Mega Random. Vivi's map is atrocious. Oof. Well, he has a very easy wall, at least. There's that. I need some BF experts to comment. Which would you rather prefer? The easy wall like this that you can just stonewall up and you'll have 1 forward gold? Or the wide open map of Rubenstock? How is the pond distribution? Pond for the Teuton pocket, and pond for the Celt pocket. 1 for each team, which is probably what you want. If you're both of these teams. Whether you have it for the Teuton or the Slav, don't know which you really care about more. Maybe you'd prefer... Well, I guess both of them have a farming bonus, right? So... either one's going to have to invest into the fish. On the bottom of the map, though, we will actually have a Vil fight, as it'll be Valas in the blue against Lix in the red, Bohemians against Aztecs. And this is why I always question Bohemians on the flank, because they don't really have a Vil fight bonus. I guess Aztecs don't really have one anymore either, now that their loom is no longer just free and instant at the start of the game. That's been swapped out for an extra 50 gold. I think it's going to join together as part of a wall. As more vills are being sent over from Valas, we'll put this on the idle time screen. Valas maybe winning the Vil fight so far as he hasn't had idle time. But now he's starting to tick up and maybe catch up to Lix, as Lix has his TC running. If there's one thing Lix knows how to do, it is Vil fight. And Yo will be helping him out with his scout there. Like Rubenstock can easily wall forward, which he can use to boom or attack. Yeah, I guess my worry would be if there is any type of feudal aggression from Vivi that can come forward through the walls there. As this Vil fight now pushing its way back towards Lix's TC, and he'll have a big fight of all the villagers right in front of that boar. The scouts from everyone's still alive, and players will try to grab the low HP Vils and run, but one Vil going down for each player as they continue Vil fighting Valessa really far forward though. Eagle goes down for Lix, but these are still two very low HP scouts. Ooh, another kill there. The Max is scout now with 2 kills to its name. But the Vil population here, lots of low HP ones here for Valas, and he has to run back. Oh god, I have to remember all the colors are different from last game now. I might have called that Valessa. He's Valas. I might have called him Valessa there. He's in the blue and he's Valas. As the Max, why is the Max green and Valessa cyan? Rubenstock's gray though, but this isn't how Finland works. And Vil fight's still going on. In the north, we have some very forward walls from Vivi down the middle. Some Vil fighting going on here. Let me just check. I don't see a color change yet. No sneak villager here for Vivi. No sneak villager on the other side there for Rubenstock either. That's actually, it'd be a really useful feature if maybe I could like shift click a name and it like temporarily changes the color to some type of like flashing red, just so I can check for sneak villagers. Would need to be like a distinct one from all the other colors, but something that's like distinct and very noticeable. Just a quick show me the sneak vil on BF button. That might be cool. Fast paladins versus tanky paladins. Well, fast paladins versus tanky paladins, and also boyars versus Celt paladins. Never discount the Celt paladin. So it looks like Lix has this walled up and actually has all those Vils of Valas trapped. Valas is going to try to wall up behind this too and wall the Vils in. He has walled one of Lix's Vils in and should be able to get a kill there as he walls the other ones out. And now with this wall, he'll be able to destroy this wall and make a hole for himself. So this wall from Lix won't actually be a full wall. And well, this Vil fight's just gonna continue as I hear dock noises. I don't know why I heard them all the way down there, but I heard them. And this dock is now up for Valessa, and we'll still have a pond in the back for Tim. And well, what is this? The Max. He's looking just to wall up and have a second layer of walls just in case his teammates die. This is the from the Ornlu school of playing with the T-West as a flank. Yeah, Rubenstock will be going for the 3-board lure. And that's a pretty far lure. Might need to use the scout. Let's see if he gets it back to the TC. Turk spears will kill the boyars. Oh, that's definitely something to look out for. Ooh, yeah, Rubenstock. He's paying attention. He knows how to lure the boar and stay within the line of sight. He's doing a good job of it so far. Oh, look at them. Okay, this is the one pathfinding thing where the old patch was worse than the current one. The boar lures. Oh, they get stuck on each other. At least the boars are close enough that they can still be taken by Vils after that one gets taken out. And those two will stop, but now the berry Vils can shoot them. Yeah, Rubenstock, he's pro at this. What did you come into? You came into old patch pathfinding. Which I think this is probably the instance where it's obviously worse than the current patch. But otherwise, I think the current patch is mostly worse with the pathfinding. So barracks for Vivi. And Vils will be breaking through a palisade at the front. Yeah, the chunky boars. And, well, this is what I was saying we might see from Vivi on this side. Some feudal aggression breaking through the walls of Rubenstock, who only put down a single layer of palisade. Single layer palisades definitely don't protect you anymore, even if they do have the cumin team bonus. And it's going to be a big feudal warfare out here as the barracks is added in for Rubenstock. Down in the south, though, we still have 2 players in the Dark Age as the Vil fight continues. It looks like Valessa has gotten some forward walls up, but Lix isn't going to let that stand. Valessa is using his wolf to help out in the fight. And here it is, 6 Vils versus 5. I'm just waiting for Lix to somehow plop down some gates and trap all 6 of those Vils. As he's trying to bring reinforcements, but Valas with 1 Vil there walling off, and I think I might have called him Valessa again after last game, but Valas walling off. This patch, your Vil ignored the mining camp and walked 20 tiles to the TC. The question is that actually fixed in the new patch, or can that still happen? And, well, ooh, he's trying to save the Vil. He will, but gets a diagonal attack in. And does manage to save it. Ooh, almost killed it with the diagonal attack. And another quick wall there, saving a 4 HP Vil. Lix saving as many as he can. Can he save another one? Trying to use the grid as well as he can to get the walls up. He's just going to get all of his Vils walled. 1 goes down. And he's trying to save another. As he's breaking through these palisades, though, Valas has the walls behind him and is ready. You know, Vils always take the most direct path. You are right. As at the north, looks like Rubenstock has gone for an archer, and Vivi has just gone for stone walls. So not going to actually fight in the middle, just going to send a drush forward. And actually will be able to annoy some villagers on the gold. Might not get a kill, but will at least be a bit annoying. Might not be too worth it, though. As Lix and Valas were past 16 minutes, neither of them has clicked up. And don't know if... Oh, wait, actually, Lix managed to trap one of Valas's Vils. He's going to try to do that again. Let's see if he can do it. Oh, he's not going to go for it there. Still trying to break in. If he can wall in all of the Vils, he might be able to force these walls open. What other norms exist? The L Infinity norm. And, well, Valas actually, our first player up. Significantly less idle TC time than Lix, but it is now a Mangonel against Dark Age Palisades. Those walls will not keep the Mangonel out. And Yo is coming forward to pressure as the Slavs. We will have a Fish Boom. And 3 TCs here for Tim. 3 TCs here for Yo. And on the other side, a Fish Boom and 4 TCs for Valessa. Adding in those pretty cyan fishing ships as the Celts. And also dealing with the Drush, apparently. So what other map do we get to see Dark Age versus Imperial Age action? Maybe Chaos Pit. And Valas up, the max up. And now Lix. Has he done enough damage to Valas that the Mangonel push can succeed? Well, the max is going for some scouts, adding in his 3rd TC a bit later. And the scouts will stop the siege push. It was monks and siege from Yo, but no pikemen out to support them. And the scouts can just come right in. Lix now has to quick wall to defend himself. And, well, remember, Finland had walled each other off very early on. China hasn't done that. We're going to see a couple houses from Tim right now. He's trying to wall himself off and stop the scouts from progressing, but No back walls that would stop scouts from running in and harassing Yo if they can get there. We'll now have forward stone walls from Valis, and scouts will keep trying to pick off vills here from Lix. The cyan fishing ships, I know, that's beautiful, and I think we're gonna have 1, 2, and 3 docks now. Oh yes, Valessa knows how to fish, even on the old patch, has them perfectly aligned. This is just an A+ in terms of his fishing ships, and look at what he's doing. He's leaving a 1-tile gap at the back of the dock, so that the fishing ships don't end up blocking each other as they spawn, so he can keep sending more to these back docks. He's using the beach terrain and getting the fish traps wherever he can fit them. Oh, this is just absolutely perfect from Valessa. Finn clearly knows how to fish on BF. And Castle Age now for Valis, Feudal Age in for Lix. 85%, and he is almost up. He has a barracks, and he's has so many vills on one wood line that he's chopping out. A couple of vills here from Valis, I don't know what they're doing, but there we are. Feudal Age for the Aztecs player, going out to gold now. He might just try to get to the Castle Age and do some monks. A lot of scouts attacking both the workshop and the monastery. Oh, because the new fish traps, in the new patch, it's much easier to build the fish traps adjacent to the dock. You don't need to leave the 1-tile gap. That's the difference. Because in the old patch, you could not start construction of the fish trap while the fishing ship was on top of it, and now you can. So reseeding them is much easier, and placing them in the first place is easier too. Yeah, they also pack tighter too, because the fishing ships have a slightly smaller radius. Yep, directly adjacent. So Bill is going down as the Max is pushing in with scouts. And remember, he was the Cuman player. He was doing the Cuman boom. But a Cuman boom into scouts as fate would have it. And, well, look at that Imperial Age timing we're going to get from Valessa as the Celts. Celts with a fish boom powered boom. And he is forward, adding in barracks, adding in the siege workshops. And, well, the only bad part about this castle from Rubenstock is it doesn't leave much room to get around it. They might need an onager cut just to get through without deleting the castle. Initial res collected. What is the hotkey for that? Eco. I want resources collected. There we are. Just Valessa skyrocketing past everyone else in terms of total resources collected. And Lix all the way down there at the bottom. But now it is Trebuchet time, as the Treb is popping out for Vivi. He is up to the Imperial Age first ahead of Rubenstock, and Ruben doesn't have any vills nearby to repair that castle. On unit collision sizes, there's not much math behind it. It's just one floating point number that defines the size of the unit. Oh, down in the table? Let me do that one. So Max going forward for a stable. As in the north, Rubenstock's just going to let his castle fall, not going to try to repair it and delay this push. It will be monks for Vivi as the Bengalis, monks and Trebs, and looking to push forward, but we already have the Celts in position. And ooh, that shot not coming in time. But Rubenstock needs to run that cannon lest it be converted. You can find it. It's just in the Advanced Genie editor. You go to the properties, or if you go to the local files in the game, you can open up the editor and view all the data for the units. And now Knights in the back fighting Yo under all of these TCs. Is collision size a radius? Yes. They move fishing ships from 0.5 to 0.4. A radius in terms of tile size. And the units make a circle, and it's the radius of the circle. The size of the selection circle is different than the unit size. But same thing, it's a circle. Some things are squares, though, like buildings are squares. But most units are circles. So, Lick's just getting overrun by knights now from the max. And, well, Valessa, he's the Celts. Can he play basically 1v2 here while Rubenstock still booms? As Rubenstock is 60 Vils, but as the Turks, not going to be able to contribute as quickly as the Bengali player is with the monks. And, well, with all those halbs, can easily deal with the Teuton Paladins. And we're going to see the glorious Teutonic Knight. The Teutonic Knight, the purple-caped ones, to fight off these Celt halbs. His Cavalier. Monks trying to heal. And there are the Teutonic Knights, though. Look at these guys go. They are going to destroy these halbs. Backed up by Cavaliers, but who cares about them? They don't look anywhere nearly as cool as the Teutonic Knights do. And this will be a treb push here from Vivi. And, well, without the Turks, Valessa can't quite fight the Teutonic Knights. That's not something the Celts can deal with unless they go for Scorpions or get good Siege Onager shots. Monk's still trying to get conversions. In the south, though, the push for the max is still going strong. As forward castle to break through these walls, Licks can do naught but wall up. In north, the Celts having enough halbs that they can take out Trebs at the moment, while the Teutonic Knights need to be amassed. But now there's 10 of them. This will be one of those YouTube videos. How many Celt halbs does it take to kill 10 Teutonic Knights? Getting Blast Furnace, they're still not elite. Trebs hitting the castle. And, well, this push is going pretty well. Rubenstock's starting to get out some hand cannoneers, and those will help deal with the Teutonic Knights. Valessa, not quite in the position he might want to be in. Doesn't have his siege upgrades, has just been spamming halbs into Teutonic Knights so far. And as much as I still imagine this side will win, this is as good of a push as China can make. But in the south, they've now broken through the next layer of walls, and they're getting into Yo's eco. Yo just trying to spam out halbs. In the long run, I would definitely favor Slavs over Cumans, especially if they can get out their halbs and some boyars. But even 35 minutes into the game, Yo he went for that early Mangonel and Monk push that failed. Hasn't really boomed into the position where he can fight the Max. And the Max is just ahead in the boom because of his second Cuman TC. And he will be doing Paladins. Nixio combined. Yeah, look at the army numbers in total, 102 to 56. There's a few halbs here from Yo. Lix is just out of the game. And there is the GG from Vivi as their push now is starting to get stopped. Kind of a stalemate here, but the other side of the map has just collapsed. And Finland gets themselves on the scoreboard, winning Black Forest. And, well, we'll look at the stats Highest total score for the Kelt Boom. Most kills for actually the Teuton player. That's what we had. The Celts player just spamming, feeding the Teutons. Most eco for Velessa with that pond. Fastest feudal, of course, for the Max. Fastest castle for Tim, and then fastest imp for Vivi. Did kind of pay off for him. They were getting a decent push early on. Rubenstock wasn't too far behind, though. Like, stuck in... At least he made it to feudal. Most Vils for Tim, and most APM again for Velessa, but tying with the Max. Velessa gets the star, though, so Velessa still has the highest APM for all the games. Purple is a nice color for Teutons. That it is. That it is. And here we are on African clearing. We will have Finland back in their normal colors. Velessa in the blue, Valas in the green, Max in the cyan, and Rubenstock in the gray. China will have Yo in the orange, Tim in the red, Lix in yellow, and Vivi in purple. And then we'll have Tim. So TCs are spread out. No TC wars. We had seen a TC war once for a restart on this map, but not this time. We'll have the Max and Rubenstock to the north. Surrounding them will be Tim, Vivi, and Lix. Then to the south, it'll be Velessa as the Chinese, next to both Yo and our final player, Valas. So no player out by themselves getting a free boom. Everyone up and down the middle, so weird expansion where both of the sides will be empty. Our TC wars are banned. Yep, we did have a TC war once, so we had an adminry on the game. That's how it works. Because you can't scout your TC locations. And oh, okay, look at this teamwork. Rubenstock, he is killing a deer near Velessa's TC. He knows that he's not going to be able to walk all the way back to the other side of the map, so he's just going to be garrisoning that Vil in the TC and taking from that deer repeatedly. So the teamwork, I've seen the Finns do this a few times. The absolute brilliant teamwork. If you garrison your allied TC, you can drop off resources. So African clearing, I did add a small clump of 3 trees to each of the ponds, and just a bit more overall wood in the middle. And I think we are seeing the effects that players have more opportunity to TC the middle, and don't necessarily need to go all the way to the edge where they're closer to the wood line. Although if you're lucky and you spawn there, you might get that set up anyway. Tim taking the elephant early. Now, shorefish do come in faster, or villagers gather from shorefish faster than they do from elephants. But elephants just have so much more food on them. 200 food for each of the shorefish. Lix with humans on this map feels dangerous. Lix with any civ on any map feels dangerous. Yo with Mongols also feels very dangerous. How many camel civs do you want on African clearing? China does say yes. And, well, Finland also says yes, aside from the Burmese. TC will get the elephant wounded, and the Vils will finish it off. Beautiful TC location for Yo, between 2 ponds and also on the woodline. I guess these 2 ponds just spawned 1 woodline between them. I guess that can happen occasionally, but it's not really a big deal. I wasn't too perfectionist about it. It works good enough that you're never going to have a pond without wood. Sometimes double ponds might have 1 wood line, though, which I think is fine. I'm still waiting for players to dock and fish in the ponds. That's my favorite thing to do on this map. Burmese are a camel save the same way Aztecs are a camel save. Well, they do have good monks. That's for sure. And nice zebra lure from the Max, like he's playing AoE 1. Learning it with the villager. Rubenstock doing some more scouting with the villager too, gonna pick up those goats. Has a nice double pond and gold by his TC. And he's right near the edge, so we can get a lumber camp up. Max will be chopping wood out there too. I'm most curious to see what Vilesa and Valas do here against Yo. Because Yo usually wants to be Mongols and have a free boom so we can go into Mangadai. But in this situation, he might need to get up and do scouts. Mongols, it does make sense to take the elephants as much as you can. I think the Mongol hunt actually is faster than shorefish. I forget what those numbers are. And big walls from Vilesa going all the way down to the edge of the map. Like really big walls. Like how's he gonna wall the back of that too? He's gonna spend a lot of wood on those palisades as he's clicking up a bit slower than most of the rest of his team. And Rubenstock looks like he's just gonna wall himself in a smaller area, keep the Max safe too, and go for a fast castle. I think I have seen him do this in another game. When he's not douching, he's going for a fast castle. And you have barracks added in for Valas, so as the Tatars, he might want to be going for some scouts. All of the goats that you have do last longer on this map for the Tatars, and they have lots of mobility with their cav archers and their free thumb ring, and then their, well, Step Lancer, Camel, Kashyyyks in the late game. Just not a Paladin Civ. So more players getting up to the feudal age. Feels like Finland might just be a bit faster overall. Especially with Vilesa just now getting up, and I see a barracks from him. Now, Chinese, he could go scouts or he could go archers, and he's going to opt for archers. Yo will be doing archers himself, not doing scouts, and it will be scouts from Valas. Now, I think the only problem for Finland here is they might do some damage to Yo, but it will be two players sacrificing themselves to kill one. It's not just going to be a 1v1 between Valas and Yo while Vilesa booms. So here's our second TC for Lix. Our human player is going to be booming right in the middle of the map, getting all of these pawns that he can, and adding in a stable and some scouts while doing the boom. So not just a pure human boom, but a bit of a scout war boom. As Spear is here to defend for the Max. And we'll have Feudal Age in for Rubenstock. Zoop. Vil gets the zebra. And, ooh, Rubenstock trying to Masterpiece wall his Vil, but won't get it in the woods as Lix kills it with the scouts there. And more Gujar goat action, as we have 12 goats in total in those two mills, logarithmically generating food. And hasn't even finished taking the forage bushes. That's how much food he has. Gujar is always a very scary civ on this map. We have the Max going for a tower rush, as Tim wanted to fast castle. He's walled himself in. On the other side, Rubenstock does have the Max in front of him, while Lix is going for the cumin boom and not pushing immediately. Max needs to garrison his tower. Max needs to, there we go. And he's going after a Vil, but not going to get the kill there. Maybe a bit sloppy on that micro from the Max, not garrisoning as fast as he could have. And scouts on the front still are running around for licks. First collar at the mill for Rubenstock. And the scouts will take out a palisade wall. Ville will try to get some repairs in, and the scouts have to run. Yep, it is still going on. We have this, and then one more series afterwards. And far back tower for the max. Pretty far away from the stone. I guess they really don't want Tim to have a free boom into camel archers. As you look at the stone count for Tim, that's what he's aiming for. And 2 defensive towers will help delay a castle. Same time, Yo may be struggling a bit, restricted to his TC, under this pressure from both scouts and archers. I guess maybe the good thing about the scouts is they don't need to hit just Yo. They can do some initial damage, then run and try to harass someone else. As that looks to be, well, not what the scouts are doing, as they're all the way down in the corner. Nothing really down there for them to hit. I guess Tim has some villagers here, for some reason that can be taken out. Tim just opened with a mill down there, because he didn't want to run back to his TC. Velessa may be getting a bit too close to Yo's TC, as Yo's taking good advantage of all those shorefish. Has to add in skirms, though. Skirms never feel like a unit you want to be making in a team game. In tower in the middle of nowhere. That's the tower by the dead zebra protects the only access to your town. And there we have a defensive castle from Rubenstock. And as the Burmese, he's going to be making Arambai and looking to push, I would guess, the Cuban player of Lix. Lix, who is at 41 vills, has a pretty good boom going on. Or it could be looking to push Tim, but Camel Archers, I'd imagine, are a unit that would do okay against Arambai, since they would have that attack bonus. Oh, and Shrivamp Riders now for Vivi, as China does have a slight score lead and a slight Vil lead. The real challenge will then kick in as the Arambai come. Now, a few scouts from Valis. Now they've moved over from harassing Yo to harassing Lix, but a bit late to harass. But they will get here in time for the Arambai to arrive at the gold and maybe get some hits on the Vils as they run back to the TC. So they'll get a kill there. And still will be able to run and support Arambai. Maybe they can help out against the scouts of Lix. And still can find other spots, such as that stone where they can hit. What they really don't want is Lix to get up a castle and suddenly have a way to stop the Arambai pressure. And he's on 465 stone right now. The scouts will find another vill or two out by those zebra. And the Arambai will come out and stop him from lining stone. He'll be at 465, and remember, his teammates will not be able to sling him. He actually, ooh. They can sling him if they're in the castle age, and he isn't. This could be a situation where they just want to send him, like, 200 stone. It's Tim's buying stone for a castle. Like, maybe Vivi slings him some stone just so he can get close to his own castle, and he has to do it before he gets up to the castle age. That's something to keep an eye on. As he will be having a castle drop from Tim, but thwarted by a tower from the max. Tim just deletes that right away. And the Arambai are there, so Tim's castle, after he bought that stone, not going to be as aggressive as he might have wanted it to be. It has to be backed by his own TC. So the Arambai and the tower will at least buy a bit of map control for the max. As he is still feudal. Feudal on 36 vills, just now clicking up. And if you look at his KD of 1 to 6 on the Eco KD, not really the spot he wants to be in, 3 and 11 overall. Scouts from Valis finally getting cleaned up by Lix as Lix gets up to the castle age. Score is flipping back and forth like crazy, and it's now going to be what Finland wanted to prevent, that castle straight up from Lix. Managed to mine all the stone himself as the Arambai were cleaned, and the other ones were dealt with, or coming over here to deal with Tim. So Yo's taking some damage, has to go for a lot of towers, but has been mining some stone. He'll be able to drop a castle as soon as he is up. And Valessa not going for the castle drop himself, just adding in a TC. Max up to the castle age, at least he will be beating Yo. How do Genitoras do against camel archers? That's a question I don't know, because normally the Genitor is on the Berbers team, and you don't have Berbers on both teams. So I've actually never thought of that. How do they do against a Rambai? I'd imagine they would still have the attack bonus that they usually have. And I imagine the same would do for camel archers, but I've never actually thought of that matchup. And remember, a Rambai cannot destroy TCs like they used to be able to. And the Shravamshriders getting in on Valessa. Maybe the downside of going for the archers is it makes you more vulnerable to the Shravamshriders. You could try to lame that goat and bring it back to their own TC. Camels facing spears in the south, getting picked off. And Monk goes down to the archers, not going to be able to grab the relic Valessa wanted. As China's starting to take a pretty good Vil lead, up by about 30. As the Steppe Lancers are getting their pokes in. And Yo up to the castle age. These Shravamshriders, though. Valas might be the one trying to defend here. Steppe Lancers should be good against these Shravamshriders. But he's going to need a good number to help defend against... What is this? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 TCs from Vivi. In the north, just a castle war between the camel archers of the two... I guess the Berbers are on both teams because of the Civ Draft pick system, but... Yeah, Genitoras, that is a good question. Now we can actually check the armor of the camel archers. And it's 0 archer, camel, and cav archer armor, so the Genitoras would get their full bonus attack. Yeah, the odd situation where we can occasionally have the mirror Civ. At university should go down. And if that can be denied and stop... Ooh, it's not going to stop the ballistics, but it will be 5 Vil kills here for the max. Or at least 4. And get the last one... Ooh, it'll only be 3. A bit of a miss micro there. Letting them... or right-clicking before they shot, and they had to go through their full reload animation. Now, Arambai not able to deny the castle here, as Rubenstock's throwing up his own castle, but now we'll have to contend with the castle of Lix being able to deny it. And Rubenstock actually won't get this castle up. That's going to be a doubt castle from Rubenstock. Just over there, we have an X from the Max, and he'll be trying to add in his own TC. Shravamshrider's getting in on Valas, and China really starting to pull ahead, up by 50 villagers now. All of these mobile units and this raiding paying off. The Arambai not able to get under the castles and TCs. And Valas' woodline is just... The TC can't kill these things fast enough. They recharge their magics too fast. And, well, TC eaten by mangonels as they keep pushing in. Now Valessa, the only one who is above the lowest score player, Yo, on Finland. Can he carry with the Chinese? He's trying to push Vivi, but Vivi even 93 Vils to 82. Well ahead of Valessa in score, and this looks like it'll be another win for China, unless Finland can make something happen. And Valessa going for the castle drop. Crossbows trying to take out these Shrivampshriders. And down they go. Down they go indeed. That castle tries to be walled in. Finally, the Vil gets the walls up, and she will be able to finish that castle by herself. Even the goat's going to attack. Vivi using the goats, but the castle goes up. Now the crossbows are going down. In the north, another castle from Tim. Just in the back of Rubenstock's base, all the camel archers had gotten in. And things just going south very quickly for Finland. China takes a 3-1 lead with that win and puts them one game away from a rematch against Canada in the grand finals. So we'll have the scores overall. Highest score there for Vivi with the Gujars. Most kills 2. Most eco for Tim, just ahead of Vivi. Fast castle there too with the Gujars. No one game didn't make it to Imp. And most Vils there. Most APM. This time for Valis. It's not Valessa. Finally it's Valis. So after 2 very competitive games at the start that Finland ended up losing, they split the next 2, and now China goes up 3-1. And here we go. All right, we'll have Tim as the Byzantines against Rubenstock as the Aztecs to the north. Then in the south, we will have Vivi as the Poles against Valessa as the Byzantines. Overall, it'll be China in the warm colors to the west, with Lix as the Khmer and Yo as the Magyars as their pockets, and then Finland in the cool colors to the east. They will have Max as the Khmer and Valis as the Saracens as their pockets. So, Finland, their normal color scheme. Rubenstock in the gray, Max cyan, Valis green, and Valessa blue. And he's just going to start pushing in, or Rubenstock is just going to start pushing in that deer on the flank. Byzantines, of course, a common pick on Chaos Pit because there's no gold in the middle. You have to chop your way out. So the flanks can't really go archers, but Byzantines can go spearman and skirmisher quite efficiently with how cheap they are. The Poles, before the match I was saying that they had kind of been used as the pocket more. Just the Folvark farms are a great eco bonus, and the Schlachta privileged knights as you get to the outside give you great spam for the middle. But also on the flank, they're good tower rushing and Vil fighting civ, with the Vils that heal over time and the ability to get some gold while mining the stone. Yeah, Lix and Rubenstock at least are on the same half. China not putting Lix on the flank. We won't get to see that Lix-Rubenstock matchup, but at least we do get to see Chaos Pit. I mean, to be fair, earlier on the meta was flanks douche the pockets. So maybe this is just telling us that Lix is in position to be douched by Rubenstock. That might just be the case that we'll end up seeing. But the meta has kind of shifted away from that now. It's more towards a standard game where the flanks just make skirms and spears and try to survive. Maybe some Vil fighting still, but not as many douches, and maybe not the double douche that we once saw, the defensive douche that was quite awesome. Douching with Aztecs? You can douche with any civ, as long as you believe hard enough. And looks like we'll get a villager kill, but losing the scout in turn. I'm fine with that if I'm Tim. I like taking out scouts. I think they're actually a bit more valuable than the villagers early on. Your opponent panics. If there's one player who's not going to panic in the face of a douche, it's got to be Lix. On the other side, things seem to be fairly quiet. Nice double berry patch mill there for the Folvark. Maybe I should have kept the berries farther away. Didn't really alter this map script too much. Have I played the new DLC? Nope, I do not have the new DLC. Doink on the scout. And it looks like maybe a bit more HP left on the scouts there for China, as Yo's gonna get away. Valis kept fighting even after Valessa ran. Ruben's like, great, the TC came to me, I don't need to run now. That's exactly what to think when you douche. It came to you, don't need to delete your own. So Feudal Age is a fairly calm and uneventful game of Chaos Pit so far. No boars, so you don't really lure the boars and you get to lame them, just deer pushing. So everyone up to Feudal at just about the same time. Lix will be our first player up. His Khmer will be going up much faster than Max's Khmer. That's 17 or 18 Vils versus 20 Vils. Max even lost the scout. And now this is the point I accidentally muted myself on the stream. So welcome to the post-game re-watching and commentary for about 3 minutes. So as everyone gets up to Feudal, we'll have Lix adding in that stable. Of course, the Khmer want to go for scouts. And we'll have Vivi in the south heading forward with all of his vills to start tower rushing Valessa. Valessa immediately will respond with a counter tower of his own. And if you look carefully right there in that spot, Valessa's going to put down a palisade. That's because next to the stone and the barracks, Vivi actually would have been able to tower hop and put some vills on the other side. And that's one of the cute little tricks you can do. You can't tower hop two adjacent wall pieces, but anything else, a wall and a house, a stone mine and a barracks, you can go through. So Valessa will lose one villager, but the tower will still shoot the full number of arrows as long as it's garrisoned with 4. And Vivi, he's not going to fight that. He's just going to go away and build another tower to the north. Try to get around the front of Valessa. And this is going to be a pretty crucial pair of towers to get up. And it's why he wanted to pick the poles and use them now on the flank instead of as we've been seeing them in the pocket. We'll garrison them and try to take as much map control as we can while the teams go for team walls. Pretty big team walls, and if the towers can keep that one side open, that's going to mean scouts can keep running in from the pockets. And part of the key until you get the gold income on the outside is just to make as many scouts as you can as the pocket. Now, the lumber camps for China, only the pockets go to the outside. Both of the flanks are building their lumber camps on the inside, as now some scouts from Yo have gotten in before all the walls go up. And they will get a Vil from Valas and run around the mill. Meanwhile, all the lumber camps for Finland are around the outside, so everyone looking to chop out there, as the scouts keep dancing in the middle and China going for their own team wall. That's a strategy we've seen quite a bit on this map, the full team wall. There are no forests you can wall through, so you just have to use your buildings, put them in the right spots from the get-go, and build the walls between them. Now a few spears coming out as the scouts are still running around. And Valessa is still struggling against this tower rush from Vivi. I have to be careful, Vivi's in the orange this game. They've been switching colors. Need to avoid accidentally calling him Tim. Tim is in the north, and Vivi... Well, this tower rush pretty successful so far. Valessa down to 23 Vils as Vivi's still on 28. And the scouts from Yo are just going to make that even worse. Oh, the quick wall just in time for Valessa as he brings a couple spears over. The Berryvilles won't be so lucky, though, as the scouts get in. And those Vils will have to run. Can just go to the tower, though. Don't need to go all the way to the TC. Vala's trying to help with scouts, but won't have quite as many as Yo does. And they might try to engage, but will the spear get a poke? No, Yo gets away just before it does. And he'll have a good group of scouts behind all the walls, continuing to run around and harass all of these Vils from Finland. Meanwhile, at the front, looks like Rubenstock's going for his own trush against Tim. Tim will have to counter tower to defend that. But the big difference here, Tim is already fully walled, as Rubenstock even has a tower on that lumber camp. Valessa will be wide open at the bottom, and it's just about time I realized I was muted. How long have I been muted? I thought something was weird. What did I press to mute myself there? Was I muted the whole game? A while? Oh, a few minutes. Well, oh well. Your ears are muted. Hopefully it wasn't the whole game. You know, I think I coughed at some point, and then I muted myself and didn't unmute myself. Well, I went to the toilet. I did between the games, but not during the game. You know what? When I upload to YouTube, I will... Oh wait, I'll still be muted there. Never mind. I thought I was safe. I won't be. Oh, I should have another audio track that doesn't mute, so I can fix that in post. The ideas I get. Anyway, scouts will be getting in at the back. And picking off these spearmen. I record a new audio track. No, I mean, I'm not gonna re-record it, but I mean that in the, in OBS, I can just have an audio track that's recording and doesn't respond to the mute hotkey. So then I can just have them in the video and then delete one or the other. So if I have spots where I'm muted, I can restore it. Oh, that'll be my idea for the future. So anyway, the scouts are still running around. And some pokes coming in at the back with the spears. Lick's still not really finding too much damage with all the spears out, but more towers coming from Vivi. And this tower rush from Vivi has been impressive against Valessa this whole game. A note here, I was so impressed by Chaos Pit, I was speechless. That is exactly what happened. So, defensive towers everywhere. And it feels like, well, somehow Rubenstock is still towering forward, even though Tim's towering him. And he's getting towers up everywhere. We will have now both of the pockets going up for Finland, so in that respect, they're ahead. But they're going to need to find a way to clean these towers. Tim has now walled that tower everywhere aside from the back. And adding now some pressure on Valas's farms. Yeah, maybe I can re-record that right after the series. When I edit this for the YouTube. And there is Valas up to the castle age. Now the question is, can he, as the Saracen's pocket, get out enough knights to push these towers back? Because I imagine he has to go for knights here. I haven't really seen camel sieves be used as pockets on Chaos Pit now that I think of it. Lix is up to the castle age.
But nay.
And, well, it looks like Rubenstock will be taking out these towers. We now have also Yo clicking up and only Lix doing husbandry in that stable, looking to push forward. Everyone is on the outside. We have some stone walls coming up for Rubenstock, but one slight little opening on the corner where it looks like Lix is going to get in. This Ville is walled for the moment, and there are a couple of spears, but these scouts will make it tricky to finish that wall. On the other side, we do have a full wall off from Valessa, but not that far forward. This is leaving a corner and a lot of map control for China. So if they come and wall as forward as they can, which would be here and here, then that's going to be 3 corners for them for their trade, especially if Lix is able to do the same thing. But Lix is going around the outside with knights, and Rubenstock needs that Ville just to get the gate down, but Lix's scout could stop that. Lix not paying attention. Rubenstock going too far forward with the gate. He needs to go back. Lix also paying attention with the knight. Oh, and Rubenstock, had he gated back there, he would have gotten it. The knight is there, and it gets the Ville. Now Rubenstock has to wall around his gold mine, and while China up by 20 Villes, things are starting to look pretty good for China. Finland needs to find a way to hold on. Maybe hope that late game, the Saracens with Mamelukes might give them an advantage against Magyar's Khmer, even against Poles. As here we have Castle Age for Chim, Castle Age for the 2 flanks of Finland, but Vivi already is up on this side, continuing with the towers. And with this many towers, I wonder if you start considering Guard Tower as an upgrade. But look at how far forward Yo is expanding as the Magyars, making sure with these forward walls that his team will have indeed this corner for the late game, so they can trade here, and perhaps more importantly, deny Finland from that full trade line. And looking at this game, there are no sneak vills from Rubenstock. He's not going to get a couple of barracks up in the corner as the Goths like he did in that other series. He will just be trying to boom and recover. Still trying to get that wall up, sending spears over. Lix is in with knights, and like Kevin, he's going to be as annoying as he possibly can. He's going to play as Lix as he possibly can. The knights are getting in and hitting the vills on that mining camp, so at least some aggression from the Max making its way to this part of the map. Not sure how they got in, but they did. Now Tim is up to the castle age. And Tim is going forward. He is sending his entire village forward to raise a castle right outside of Rubenstock's base. I show the Eco KD. Valas. That hurts. The one pocket, the Max did a good job. Valas got hurt. And I think that's all because of that tower rush from Vivi. And then TC in the back again for the Max. Well, if there's one thing that is looking good for Finland, it's that the Max has 75 vills, and that's the most in the game. And if there's one thing that Finland can count on, it's the Max to play as the Cyan player in the pocket and try to carry. But, oh, yo, even getting in on the other side, not sure where he got in, but he did. Like, how did he get in through all these stone walls? But now he's there, and he is trapped. He is quick-walled inside of this TC. So good job there from Valas, and there is a pause. Why is there a pause? Pause by Yo. But, oh, looks like that's... the tower rush must have opened up by a hole by this lumber camp. And while all of this had been walled, there is the second lumber camp not stone walled off from Valas. And I think there was just one little hole. Well, while it's paused, maybe we can go back and see where they got in. And was that it? Yeah, they all got in right there, right through that lumber camp. He tried to quick wall out, but couldn't keep the knights out, and now they're all under the TCs. Nice job to wall them in here and trap them, though, so they won't do too much damage. But now we'll get caught up, and we will go. Oh, that was perfect timing for the pause to review what happened. Now we have Mamelukes. Mamelukes for Valas. And is it the Max and Valas who can end up carrying? Valas is going to be under a lot of pressure here from Yo's knights. As, oh, even another gate goes down, and he can either get in again or get out, whichever he wants. And there'll just be more towers from Vivi. And Valas is really suffering from all this pressure. The Max is getting some raiding done, but that's it, just some raiding. Rubenstock's here with pikemen. It'll be pikes against the Chimeras, so Lix will go for some scorpions. And Lix will also go for a defensive castle by his TC to slow down the raids. And Valas just with a few Mamelukes, both with a pocket, getting ahead in score. And maybe Finland will now get some map control in the north, as that castle doesn't go up. It's like, what just happened there? As well, this workshop from Rubenstock Mangonel comes out, and Lix just deletes the castle. Okay, it didn't get one shot by a Mangonel. Couple of Mangonel now, and Rubenstock will try to eat this TC. And, well, that seems to be the hope now for Finland, that this side can die slowly enough with the Mamelukes that the other side can make a push. As China up by about 20 vills and about 400 score. Now, the villagers from Tim almost getting trapped. From Vivi almost getting... I feel like I've called Vivi Tim several times this game. As well, the castle will go up on the opposite side of that TC, so Lick's still trying to take some map control with it. That castle really can't be taken out in the castle age. Don't know if he really wants to make ballista elephants. But could be an option. Tim is up to the Imperial Age and continuing to push in the middle, letting Lix play on the flank. And adding in the University as the Byzantines. He has a Cataphract out, and he can go for some Bombard Cannons to try to, if he does Chemistry, to try to start pushing through those castles. And we also have Yo up to the Imperial Age as well. Looking at the ecos, it's 126 vills for the max, but everyone on China on a pretty good population. We still have Valessa struggling and also getting castle dropped by Yo. And this side feels like it's going to fall sooner rather than later, unless they can somehow get a lot of Mamelukes out here to fight the Magyars. And there's a workshop. I like if there's one solace for Valessa, it's that the Magyars don't have good siege. They only have capped ram. They can't push all that well. And this team will have the option of just falling back, walling more, and getting out maybe some onagers to defend against the ram push. In the middle, 4 poor archers still trapped in that tower all game for Valessa. A few more Mamelukes being trained for Valas, but Finland needs to find some way to get him up. The Max now up to Imp, but down in score to Yo. As Yo might be pushing his way forward, there is Chemistry. And Bracer, he will be going for Cav Archers. So not going for the purple pocket paladins, instead going for the Magyar Cav Archers. Maybe gonna let Vivi go up and eventually do the cavalry for the Cavaliers. And the Schlachter privileges. The Max is up, but now so is Vivi. There's Imperial Age. And the Knights still moving forward for the Max. And we'll take out all of the Knights from Lix. Another Mangonel getting the Knights down. And, well, this is it. This is the push from Finland. This push on the left-hand side has to work, and it has to be fast, while on the right, they need to hold. Magyar is perhaps the civ against which you can most hold, and we are seeing the fortified walls being added in. Valessa, as the Byzantines, well, if there's a civ that can hold for a long time, it is the Byzantines. Khmer, maybe not as good on the closed maps, unless they can get some elephants out, but he is doing ballista elephants. Ram getting Mangonels, gets one of them. Oh yeah, this one is Idlevilles. This one is value, it's kind of useless. Doesn't really tell you anything about the composition. In some ways, I think the actual just number is a more useful tool. Oh, like the top bar? I'm not sure what the 2 bars are in the top, actually. Oh, in the top? Oh, this? That is Idlevilles. Did Max cancel the Cavalier upgrade? Looks like he did, and he's doing banking. He looks like he wants to sling. And they're still gonna have to deal with this castle and eco from Lix. Like, it shouldn't be too hard to deal with that, but they need to deal with it. Lix is on 120 vills and on his way to Imp. And that'll be everyone on China up to Imp versus only the Max. And if Finland needs the Max at any point to carry, this is it. He did cancel Cavalier and he's looking to sling. We have winged hussars on the way for Vivi in the south, looking to just go in and do more raiding as the pulls. The next layer of walls for Valessa have been breached, and I think Finland just needs to start walling and walling and walling. Play this game like they were Fat Slob playing Black Forest, and slow this push down as much as they can. As to the north, it does feel like they probably should win. Looking at the scores between Tim and Lix compared to Max and Rubenstock, this castle will go down. A lot of Lix's eco will go down. And his Khmer pocket mirrored, and Aztecs versus Byzantines, where Tim has been mostly in the center and doesn't have a presence on the outside. So Lix could be on the verge of collapsing here, but this push has to happen and happen now. On the other side, more Byzantine fortified walls going up. I'd imagine this team needs some onagers in the back just to deal with rams, and then the wall should be able to hold. And I do wonder if at any point Yo thinks about maybe going to the other side, as in the middle. Now, the middle is completely controlled by China, but not as important as the outside where the golds are and where the trade will be. Now the trebs are all popping. This is a good number of 4 trebs there for Rubenstock. Has the knights or the pikemen out ready to defend against the knights. Castle goes down. The treb goes down. The next can go down 2 more TCs and a castle. So Lix is falling. China still does have a huge score lead, and the ram push is on its way for Rubenstock. Aztecs do have siege ram if he's able to get them, but he's walling his rams out from where he could attack. Is the opposite of where you need to wall, Rubenstock. Can they attack through the walls? Oh, then maybe they can attack diagonally and get some splash damage still. That one can at least. Oh, the rams will eventually push through. And Vlasa on only 56 vills. He is struggling, but at least he's up to the Imperial Age, and he is continuing to wall. This is where I feel like, as I said, they needed onagers, but I guess that's Valas who had to add them. And Tim is breaking in with some halbs. Valessa trying to wall, but won't get them in time. 1 tile, and the halbs get in for Tim. Trying to wall again to the back with some gates. And will get these up in time. Will he? He will. And now the halbs at least are trapped and not able to get in. But, oh man, that's another opening now for China to run through. The towers from Tim, letting this side break through, and it's a 3-player rainbow over here, as Lix just needs to die slowly on the other side. And, well, starting to die a bit more quickly now that the push is really gaining some steam, but still only capped rams, and capped ram pikemen for the Aztecs. Nasa just needs more and more walls. He needs to wall everything and not leave the gate open. And oh, just gets closed in time, as the Max has a couple of knights over here. And still not quite sure why the Max didn't go for Cavalier, but he didn't, and he's going just for light cav. Doesn't even have the gold for Hussars. And we gotta start looking at the trade numbers. 15 trade for the Max. So they are trying to turn this into a trade game. But looking at the total populations, over 700 for China, down in the 500s for Finland. It's like they're basically down a 200 population player, as after all of the walling, finally, these armies are in, and now the winged hussars are in where the trade would be. Onagers are out, but too late to stop the cuts. And Blessa trying to wall everything he can. Mamelukes here can't even deal with this. They're not numerous enough. Only about 22 of them, and Valas doesn't have the army numbers he needs. He likes going both Cavalier and Arb. Oh, that's the power of the Schlachter privileges, and how cheap they are for the Poles. Now Mamelukes will be getting a lot of kills on the light cav. Oh wait, Lix is the Khmer. He is the Khmer. That's Vivi who's the Poles. You're right. For a second, I thought you were talking about Vivi when I saw all those winged hussars. But yeah, Lix, Cavalier, and Arb against elephants for the Max. So Max going elephants instead of Cavalier, but you need a lot of eco for that, and you also need the upgrades. Max on 18 trade, but China can just add in their trade nice and easily. And their score is increasing. They're still up by about 80 vills, and the population now for Finland is dropping, as in this right corner they are collapsing. Max not able to push fast enough, And now too many heavy cav archers. We could get a good onager shot though. And we get a wonderful onager shot. As I don't know if it'll be enough, but they take out a good 20 or so heavy cav archers there. And Lix by himself managing to hold the push. Is Siege Onager from the Saracens enough to turn the tide now? Siege Onager Mameluke, one of the scariest compositions there is in Age of Empires. Magyar Hussar is great at sniping off Siege Onagers, but not with Mamelukes to stop them from getting the hits in. And we now have a castle from Valas as he's trying so desperately to stabilize. Another couple of Onager shots as the cav archers go to spread formation. But the Mamelukes are still there. And now with the castle up, the Hussars can't even get to the Onagers. Saracens should do a really good counter to Magyars in the late game with all of their... with Mameluke Siege Onager. Magyars, as long as the Saracens have gold, just can't really fight that. But now it's going to be Winged Hussars too. This will be the ultimate Hussar composition of full Winged Hussar and Magyar Hussar. And Valessa is still down to 41 vills. He's been struggling to wall, and they're going to need to rely on some good Siege Onager shots here. But there is the GG, and China, with a 4-1 victory, advances to the grand finals to face a rematch with Canada. And a pretty dominant performance against Finland. Those first two games were really close, but China eked them out. And now finishing it off with a win on Finland's home map of Chaos Pit. And we'll look at these statistics. Highest score for Yo, able to carry the game with the Magyars with that push on the right-hand side. Had a great boom. Most kills for Valas, but only 8 kills for Valessa, and they just couldn't recover from that. He was never able to make a transition to military and just kept getting pounded by the, well, 3-player combination of Vivi, Tim, and Yo. Vivi and Tim both tower rushing him. And most total resources for the max, but couldn't push fast enough against Lix. Tim had no eco on the outside, so the max's push never really affected him. Most vills for the max too. And APM, Valessa, this time not the fastest APM. This time it goes to Mr. Yo. So Finland overall will be finishing 3rd in Nations Cup behind, well, we'll see who wins now between Canada and China. Canada won the first match easily, only losing Nomad, otherwise getting a sweep. China might have some new strategies up their sleeve, though, for the rematch. When is the final? These teams need to schedule the final. Oh, there will be an announcement when it is scheduled. Guess we can take one last look at the brackets. No, I got the... Okay, oof, the ad changed. It's not the inappropriate one anymore. Alright, we'll look at the final standings. This hasn't been updated, but China winning. They will advance to the grand finals, where it will be a best of 7, but China gets a 1-game lead because they came from the upper bracket. So it'll be a total of 6 games at most that are played, and you need to get a score of 4 to win. It's updated, refresh the page. And there we are. They refreshed the ad. We're lucky we didn't get the inappropriate ad. But here we are. I wonder why my ad blocker doesn't just block those. I need to remove this bar in the developer settings somehow. Anyway, China, Canada. Rematch from the upper bracket match where Canada won 3-1. And this should be an amazing conclusion. I think we ended up seeing everything I at least wanted to see going forward. We saw Finland, Canada, Finland, China, and now twice Canada, China. So, amazing ending to Nations Cup, and Didn't go all 7 like Finland, Canada did, but I'm sure China will come up with a better set of games than they did in their first set. So that'll be it for me for today. I think I'll go maybe record 5 minutes of audio for that Chaos Pit game. I'll go and raid Ornlu, who I think is casting KOTD. And tomorrow I will be casting KOTD again. And thank you for everyone who stopped by today. And I will see you for more KOTD, more Masters of Arena, and then for the China-Canada conclusion to Nations Cup. So go give some love over to Ornlu. Watch the VOD. Wait for the YouTube upload. I'm gonna upload that probably. I'm just gonna upload it as fast as possible, and then I'll have some audio during that last period. It'll also be higher quality than the VOD because I recorded in 1440p. So go give some love to Ornlu.